Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayuba Ile. Thank you for joining us this beautiful Wednesday morning.
It's indeed a very beautiful morning. Thanks for joining us. My name is Stella Iyaji.
Well, thankfully, it's been an exciting week so far.
Exciting, you say?
Exciting, yeah, because a lot of things are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Not
keen
particularly
watchers.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, if you look at the mixed things that are happening, really,
Yeah.
there's kind of mixed reactions to virtually everything.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most
agree.
part, it's been a very sad experience for a lot of
Yes.
Nigerians. If you look
Too
at
many sad things happening one
at
after
the same
other.
time, yes.
Yeah.
So if you look at the issue of the train attack and also the issue of the Super Eagles failing, at the match yesterday.
While we're mourning the deaths at the train attacks and the injuries and the other attacks across the country, Super Eagles were unable to make it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, one will say, well, it's almost expected. I mean, imagine if you have some of these players probably having friends or maybe some sibling, in that train attack,
Yeah,
how
people
that
have
will
said
impact
it
on their
that
psychology.
Maybe the general feeling
Mood.
across the country, the general mood is affected the Super Eagles, but I'm not sure that was the only thing that affected the Super Eagles yesterday.
Yeah, quite a lot really.
Yeah.
It's really happening. For now, let's take a look at the highlights, talking about the headlines. Now, this morning, President Muhammadu Buhari condemns terrorist attack on a Kaduna-bound passenger train.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo cancels Lagos trip, visits Kaduna State to condole with victims of the train attack.
And then Super Eagles of Nigeria fails to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Now, these are the highlights. Let's take a look at the news highlights again. The headlines, and then we now take the news highlights. Beginning with the story about President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned a terrorist attack on a Kaduna-bound passenger train on Monday. The president Tuesday at the State House in Abuja after receiving briefs from the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo. The delegation included the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Isiaka Amao, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, as well as a Major General Samuel Adebayo, the Chief of Defense Intelligence, and the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, Yusuf Bichi. The president, in a statement issued by his spokesman, Garba Shehu, described the bombing of the train as a matter of grave concern. President Buhari restated his earlier directive that the military should deal ruthlessly with terrorists, asking them to be more decisive and not spare anyone unlawfully wielding the AK-47 weapon. President Buhari directed the immediate conclusion of all the processes for the implementation of the integrated security surveillance and monitoring solution for the Abuja to Kaduna railway line, adding that it should be extended to cover the Lagos-Ibadan railway line. He also directed the Nigerian Railway Corporation management to speedily repair the damaged lines and resume normal service without delay. The president charged the law enforcement chiefs to bring back all passengers kidnapped and ensure that each of the callous terrorists are hunted down and made to face justice for the heinous act, as no one or group should be allowed to make the country prostrate. The president, however, commended the law enforcement agencies for their prompt response and emergency personnel who were responsible for the evacuation and treatment of the injured persons.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo visits Kaduna State to condole with victims of the train attack. Osinbajo was received at Kaduna Airport by the state governor, Nasir El-Rufai. He visits victims of the attacks at 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital and St. Gerard's Catholic Hospital, both in the Kaduna State capital. The vice president visit came less than 24 hours after an attack by bandits at Dutse village in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits attacked a train conveying hundreds of travelers, killed many, and abducted others.
All right, now in sports news, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after playing out a 1-1 draw with Ghana in Abuja. The Black Stars of Ghana qualified on the away goal rule. The first leg in Ghana had ended in a goalless draw, but the Ghanaians scored a crucial away goal in Abuja. Now, Ghana opened scoring in the 10th minute of play from Arsenal's defender Thomas Partey to silence the capacity-filled MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Gideon Mensah pulled the ball back for Partey on the edge of the box, and he beat the keeper with a fine strike into the bottom left corner. Nigeria equalized from the penalty spot 11 minutes later by William Troost Ekong. Well, that's that for the news highlights. Now, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be taking a look at other reports on the show today.
At least 24 persons are receiving treatment after bandits attacked an Abuja-Kaduna train on Monday with 970 passengers aboard. No official death figure has been released. Fatima Ladan reports that families of abducted victims said the bandits have contacted some of them and demanded ransom. The report comes from now.
Bandits' attack on Abuja-Kaduna train on Monday has left in its wake anguish and anger among families of the victims. Many are worried over uncertainty about the whereabouts of their loved ones as they trip out the Regasa train station in Kaduna.
Well, yesterday night we called his number, but it was not going. Then he has 2 lines. Then we called the first one. The first one is not going, while the second one is going, but it's ringing. So he's a close aide, a friend to him that they entered the train together. So he was able to pick the phone. So we asked him about our brother. He said, okay, he don't know where he is, but he left his phone here. Since that time, we have never ever reached him again.
And this lady is fortunate to escape with no injury. She says she is a businesswoman returning from a business trip and hoping to find her goods. She says the trauma is unmeasurable. Today, the Kaduna-Abuja highway is busy with motorists playing the road. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has ordered the troops of the Nigerian Army and other security agencies to intensify search and rescue operations to ensure that the kidnapped victims are rescued unconditionally. For Sani Carpenter, the visit of the Army Chief has played a role to his escape. Not all are so fortunate as a brother to a kidnapped victim who do not want to be recorded on camera, since the bandits have reached out to them. but will announce ransom. Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs Samuel Arwan declined to speak to journalists. About 24 victims are currently receiving treatment at the 44 Army Reference Hospital, with 9 deaths recorded from the attack. Train services have since been suspended by the Nigerian Railway Corporation. This is the second attack on the train, with the recent being the worst, with deaths, injuries and kidnapped victims. Fatima Salaladan, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Well, that's one of the biggest stories for the week so far. I mean, the impact can only be imagined, really. The impact not just on, the families of, these people that were, either injured or killed, but also on Nigerians, as a whole. The psyche, the emotional stability of our countrymen is once again being affected by this. When I saw that incident, my mind immediately went back to last year.
In October last year, right?
Yes, October last year, there was that incident.
Yes, when a part of that same rail track was attacked.
Yes.
But although it wasn't as grievous as this,
yes,
but something like that happened last year.
You remember what we were told at the time, that it was, vandals that came to, rupture that rail track.
Apparently, what happened on Monday, that was, those people were test running their plan.
Exactly.
They were trying to see how far they could go.
But, I'm just imagining the kind of agony that the families of these people will be going through right now. Putting myself in that, situation. Last year, sometime around August, I had to travel to, some states in the Northwest. And my final bus stop was Kaduna, where I took a train, a night train, from Kaduna to Abuja, and
a night train?
A night train.
This happened around 7, 8, this particular incident?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can imagine a night train. That would not be...
A night train.
I don't think anybody would consider that in the nearest future.
Exactly, you know. So, and I'm thinking like, okay, what if it was me?
It could have been anybody. That's the thing. It could be anybody, and it can happen at any time.
Exactly.
With what has happened on Monday.
And that goes back to the issue of, our leaders, the elites, the political leadership that we have in place to provide what is needed to ensure the safety of people.
And and not to wait until things happen so that they'll come out and condemn and make the same statements that they make all over and over and over again. When that's something like that, or not of this magnitude, happened in October last year, these same statements that we're hearing, the condemnation and all of that, they were there. They all came out and condemned it. But today,
did they really condemn it, or try to give an explanation of what was happening? Because I recall that there was a statement from the Nigerian Railway Corporation that it wasn't bandits that attacked that rail track, that it was vandals that were there.
I remember that. I remember that they said that. But some prominent Nigerians came out to say, look, something like this should not be happening on the rail track, because the rail transport was before Monday considered one of the safest means of transportation in Nigeria, But now see where we are. It means that even if they had thought that it was those people that did that thing were vandals, what kind of investigation went into it at that time? How much work was done to ensure that whatever it was at that time does not repeat itself? That's the major question. It appears we keep waiting for things to happen, and it's like when something happens, we get this wake-up call, everybody wants to act, and then after a few weeks, we all go back to sleep, and then it happens again and again. That is what I think.
I mean, we cannot talk enough about this, because now look at it this way, that, how did a train station of that magnitude even came to be without, the necessary
security gadgets and everything,
installed, for such things. I mean, these trains started working when Nigeria was still experiencing the issues of insecurity, banditry, and
still experiencing.
So it's not like it's a new thing. And now, all of a sudden, everybody is acting all surprised.
And most of the people that are using the train moved from the roads because of the insecurity on the road, because of the attacks. They were tired of these attacks, so they went to the train. But today, I'm sure a lot of people are asking, so what next? That's
True.
the question. What next?
What next? I mean, a lot of issues need to be looked into. For instance, you talk about the fencing of these rail tracks, of the facilities that we have in place. You find situations where, in fact, some of the railway staff have also raised concerns about having to actually drag, the rail lines with cattle headers who are sometimes passing and crossing, some of these rail tracks. So you really wonder, I mean, are we in competition now with cattle, on our roads? Because when a lot of times we hear reports of, the trains hitting, cows and cattle who are crossing, the rail lines and all of that in some of these communities and these villages. So I asked the question, how do they even have access to that path? For instance, I mean, shouldn't we have some kind of fencing around these rail lines?
And shouldn't we have some kind of monitoring on those lines, And then you also talk about intelligence. What kind of intelligence are we not gathering intelligence? It brings to question how much we do in the area of intelligence gathering. The security operators need to ask themselves that question. It is something that everybody should be talking about. Why is it that these people keep taking us by surprise, There is a small fraction of the country. They shouldn't be able to hold us to ransom like they are doing.
And what's the collaboration between our security officials and the villages and communities around these rail lines, and that we have?
So that they can easily get information from them.
Because these bandits, they came through some of these villages, right?
And they also live among these people. They live among these people. So it's not like they are ghosts or they just arrived there.
Exactly. Someone definitely must have seen them going there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it speaks to what's the kind of collaboration that there is between our security officials and some of these. Do our security officials even have informants, really?
Well, they are supposed to have, but with the things that are happening, whatever kind of, maybe that arrangement is not working. Maybe they need to do more in that area, because if they did, I mean, they're supposed to have locals in different communities who will easily talk to them. There's supposed to be some kind of arrangement between them and maybe the leadership of some communities and even the ordinary people in those communities that, okay, when you see something like this, you should alert us. And some things should not shock. Some things should not come as a surprise anymore, because with the insecurity across the country, you would expect that security operators will be on their toes. They should be more proactive, not waiting for it to happen and then they go to repel. By the time they're going to repel, a lot of damage has been done.
And when you hear someone like the Minister of Transportation, talk about, an installation a digital installation that was supposed to have been done.
That ought to have been there long before now.
Exactly, costing about 3 billion naira. Which could have avoided, this experience and this thing that we are talking about right now. You kind of wonder, then what stopped us from doing that? Is it that...
Why didn't we do it before now? Why did we have to wait for this thing to happen? Lives have been lost. A lot of people are in hospital. We had to wait. And then a lot of people have been demoralized. Not a lot of people will now want to travel by rail.
Certainly.
And if you don't go by rail, where do you go? To the roads? Back to the roads where the bandits are waiting?
Certainly.
So it's a difficult situation.
It is. I mean, we have a lot of things that we could have done to avoid these things. I mean, this is not new. I mean, to the whole world. In the United States, in Spain, in other countries, they've had to grapple with one form of terrorism or the other as well. And they have train stations everywhere. I mean, even more than we do right now. Even more sophisticated and more difficult to even monitor and track all at the same time, because they have huge, number of train stations across these countries. Yet they were able to manage some of these things.
Does that show a level of unseriousness on our part?
Exactly. I mean, in Nigeria, for instance, here in the northern part of the country, we have right now operational, we have only Abuja and Kaduna rail line that is in operation.
So what
happens if we have train stations, across the country?
If we have one in the north, like the major one, the Abuja Kaduna, we cannot secure it, then you're right. What happens when we have more of them across the country? And in any case, I hope that what has happened along the Kaduna-Abuja rail sends a very strong message, so much so that all the other rail tracks, Lagos, Ibadan, and then the one Kano to Lagos, they fortify those tracks so that this same thing does not happen again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, let's not forget the fact that, talking about installations that should have been done on our rail lines to ensure safety for people. There's blast resistance, containers that, are used, in other climes, that can actually help
these
to
days,
absorb
with the
some
use
of
of
this.
technology, so much can be achieved. Then you ask yourself, what are we doing in that regard? Are we not exploring that option enough? And even with the use of that technology, we'll be able to tackle this insecurity to a very large extent. And so you wonder, how much are we doing in that regard? Are we just, it appears as if we haven't taken this insecurity situation as seriously as we ought to, because a fraction of the society cannot hold the entire country to ransom.
And if you listen to, I keep going back to the statement by the Minister of Transportation, because he said certain things that raised questions in my mind. He said, well, he had warned before now that, there's a likelihood of people losing their lives, there's a likelihood of, security threats around these installations, and that he has always, requested, for these installations to be done, these digital installations to be done.
When it wasn't done, what happened?
And he was saying that, something about, him bringing a proposal, with a clear intention, and, his colleagues, quote unquote, his colleagues, think that it is, for selfish reason or for some other, whatever reason.
Ayuba, as much as...
So trying to push the blame...
Yes, because what I'm trying to say is, as much as it's possible that happened, but why didn't we hear about it at the time he said it? How much push, you understand? He's the Minister of Transportation. How much push was applied to that request? And if that happened, why didn't he do a press conference to say, look, this is what I'm talking about and nobody's talking to me and all of that? If that had happened, maybe there would have been pressure on those colleagues of his, and then things would not have come to where we are today.
Well, maybe to be politically correct, if he tries to do that, maybe it may be looked upon, as being
Ayuba, when you consider the fact that he sensed the grave danger, as it were, I don't think that anything would have been too much for him to do to avert what happened, if indeed that was the situation at that time.
Well, it's a sad story. Whichever way you look at it, there is no explanation as to why this has to happen. I mean, we are talking about people that died. One of them, a medical doctor, from what we've heard yesterday. If you go on Twitter, the story about the young lady is everywhere on our social media space. Our prayers are with her families, and this is really regrettable, highly regrettable. It shouldn't have happened, and I hope that we have learned from this experience, because I mean, this is not the first of its kind. This is about the fourth time, if you ask me, because we've heard reports about this kind of, attack on the road somewhere in January 2020. In September 2020, we had a similar issue before the 2021 October attack, on our rail lines. This is the most devastating. This very one is the most devastating. But we've had indications, there were signs, that this is likely to happen.
But
and this has been premeditated by these bandits.
Apart from this one that has happened, even in the past 3 weeks, there have been attacks, not necessarily on the rail track, but there was one at the airport, remember? And then there have been pockets of attacks. It's like when they carry out these attacks and they don't see any forceful response from the part of maybe the government or the security, they just get emboldened, and then they feel that, okay, why don't we take it a notch higher? Why don't we go further? I think that was what happened here. They tried themselves, they saw that they succeeded, and they took it a notch higher and went to the rail track. That was what happened, sadly.
And Nigerians also need to take responsibility for this, because, it's not enough to talk about government, but even as citizens, what are we doing? What pressure are we mounting, on the people that, are governing us to ensure that, these kind of things do not happen? Or do we just make noise on social media, and then in 2 days' time, everybody moves on, and then nothing happens, and then we wait for another one to happen, and then we come off again on social media and start complaining?
Another way the citizens can come in is to provide information that will help the security operatives to do their work. When you see people that don't look like people that are in your community, they are walking past in large numbers and all of that, maybe they should put a call across come to social media like they do a lot of times to say, look, we have seen this, we have seen that. That will also help the security operatives to do their work.
And there should be channels of communication, really, because that's also another concern. A lot of people talked about the medical doctor who went on Twitter to tweet, calling for, requesting for Nigerians to pray, and that she's been shot and all of that. We saw the reactions that
Sadly, some people were even accusing her of chasing clout. Some people said, I saw a tweet that said, oh, you were shot and you can still tweet. You understand? Nigerians need to change that attitude.
That sounds insensitive.
Very insensitive, if you ask me, because she was saying, pray for me, and that was another way of alerting the public to how bad the attack was, But some people went on to say you're chasing clout. Why would anybody chase clout with a gunshot,
And again, the promptness of our security officials. One wonders, in situations like this, do we have channels of communication, to reach out? Now, for instance, if not for Twitter, maybe this issue may not have gone this viral, and we may not have seen this amount of, conversation, around this issue. Maybe if not for the tweet of, the medical doctor in question here.
The social media is helping a lot.
Yeah, so, I mean, that also goes to say that we need more lines of communication. From eyewitnesses and from those that experienced this, they said this attack took about 2 hours before security officials came to the scene of that attack. After everything has been done, they've abducted the people that they were going to abduct, and then our security officials are showing up. So,
I agree with you that there's a need for more channels of communication and all of that, but it's an all-encompassing problem. A source once told me that sometimes he hears that there's an attack somewhere. He's actually a security source. He said that sometimes he hears that there's an attack somewhere. And before they can get there, because of road infrastructure,
logistics.
Poor road infrastructure, let's start from there. It takes that there was this time there was an attack somewhere and that the place was just 5 minutes away, or was it 10 minutes away? But he said it took him 45 minutes to get there. Now, if there's an attack in a community, and let's say they're raising down buildings, 45 minutes is enough to finish the entire community. 45 minutes, it's enough. So you see, you can't separate one problem from the other. They are all together.
So in that light, I would ask the question, what happens to the choppers that we have? Do we have choppers?
Yeah, we do.
So at what point do we deploy some of these choppers?
They're supposed to be deployed. I agree with you. But what if there are places where you feel, or maybe you're just here now and you're thinking of the logistics, how to get the chopper and all of that. Like this particular person, the security source, he said he was on his way towards that area. And when he heard that, okay, this has happened, and he said, okay, let's mobilize to go there. But the road infrastructure, you understand? So that is a big problem.
We cannot solve all our problems in one day, but I believe that certain things there has to be strategy for responding to certain things. For instance, we already know that our roads are bad, right? So when things happen like this and we need to urgently deploy or to urgently attend to some of these issues, we won't say, oh, our roads are bad. But what's the best option that we have? In this instance, I believe that if we have helicopters, that would have been the best thing to deploy at that time and to swiftly. I have seen, on reality TV shows how cops, for instance, in cities will chase a criminal. One person will be chased with a helicopter, whether it's day or night.
I agree.
And you could see that person will be trailed and tracked, with helicopters from the sky. And that person cannot escape.
I agree with you.
So
everything boils down everything boils down to how seriously we handle issues in Nigeria. Everything boils down to that. So I agree with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just a lot of areas, angles to look at, all of these things. And we can do better. Everything points to the fact that
and we should do better.
We can do better.
And we should do better.
As a country to ensure the safety, of lives and property, especially because we know the times that we are in. I mean, this shouldn't catch anyone by surprise. The whole issue about this train attack shouldn't have catched anyone by surprise. But unfortunately, as usual, we will talk and talk and talk. I hope that the right people are listening and that adequate measures will be taken to address further occurrence. Now, let's take another look at yet another story related to this. The House of Representatives wants security agencies to put together a task force to check and repel bandit attacks on the nation's airports and railways. Now, this follows a motion of urgent national importance brought by Nolim Naji at the plenary following recent incidents of terrorist attacks on the Kaduna International Airport and also the Abuja-Kaduna train within a space of 3 days. Take a look.
If they start attacking our airports, the implication is that even the international airlines will stop coming to Nigeria. That's the implication. And the premium on our local airlines, the premium on their insurance will increase, will go up. And the implication is that the air tickets will double. Because once the premium on insurance goes up, the air ticket will double. So that's why I'm asking that the leadership should come to our aid to see how we can solve this problem.
We must present a very formidable front as a house to ensure that this thing do not happen again. And for it not to happen, somebody, somewhere, must be held responsible. It couldn't have just been ordinary that these people would drive through the city and come and challenge the security of our airports. For me, it is not only reprehensible, Honorable Speaker, sir, but a display of general ineptitude on the part of the security responsible for security in our airport.
Now, those who used to go to Kaduna by road became challenged because of kidnapping on Abuja-Kaduna road. And then, thank God, the railway came, the train came, Mr. Speaker, and they are being challenged today. Nigerian Railway Corporation had issued a statement that they are going to suspend the activities of the rail along that line. And Mr. Speaker, we were challenged some few days ago for us to have an infraction in the airport, which means that nowhere is safe. So, Mr. Speaker, if our roads are not safe, if our rails are not safe, and if our airport, which is the beginning point of our airways, are not safe, Mr. Speaker, then it calls for us to suspend everything political to begin to address the critical needs of Nigerians.
Well, still talking about the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. Indeed, it's been a very, very sad one for the entire country, and everyone is talking, from the National Assembly to the executive arm, to individuals, Nigerians generally, on social media, everywhere, everyone is talking. And now, talking about the economic implication of this, one of the lawmakers there is raising concern about the likelihood of an increase in the premium that Nigerian airlines will have to pay, as a result of some of these security threats here and there. Talking about the Kaduna International Airport, attempted attack there. Now, that's just on one hand. Now, we have also heard stories about where armed robbers could actually even, penetrate the terminal of some airports to rob an aircraft, to go in there and steal items from inside an aircraft. I saw that story one time and I was shocked, really. And that also raises the question about how safe and how secured are our airports, for some of these things.
But you also saw that in Kaduna the other day, there was an attack on the runway in Kaduna. So, of course, nowhere is spared in Nigeria at the moment. But talking about the economic situation, it's not just about the fact that the airlines will now have to pay more and all of that. How about investors that we have been looking for to come into the country? At this point, do you see a situation where investors will see Nigeria as a viable place to go to and invest their money? Do you see that happening? Because apart from the fact that they are not sure of the next thing that will happen, they are not sure of, okay, how about if I construct this, build this industry in this particular state and then there's an attack, I lose everything. you know. So at a time when we're looking for people to come into this country and invest, this is not the time we should be having this kind of problem, you know.
I mean, we've not even touched on the issue of, you know, the energy crisis that Nigeria is currently dealing with on the other hand as well, which is also one of the problems that is creating a serious you know, crisis in the economy, because trust me, if people cannot afford diesel, if people cannot afford
PMS,
if people cannot find fuel to buy, and you know, even the aviation fuel that we're talking about, then what happens? What becomes of, you know, a country like ours? So indeed, something needs to be done. The other lawmaker talked about setting aside whatever political interest to face this as a united country, which is very important.
It's important he mentioned that, because if you notice, everywhere you go now, it's just the drums of election that you hear. Nobody, it appears that every other thing has been suspended. It appears like all they are thinking about right now is who becomes the next president, who becomes the next governor, who is able to secure a ticket to go to the National Assembly. But people have to survive first, right? You have to have constituents to represent them. You have to have a country to be their president. You have to have a state, people in the state to be their governor, and that is very important.
I mean, even for the campaigns, how do you move from point A to point B if the country is not secured?
Exactly, and who would come? Who would come?
Who would come out, you know, to support you and all of that? So those are things that, you know, that needs to be focused upon.
Yeah.
They need to be addressed, you know, as a country. So delay, or, you know, for us to be paying lip service to some of these things is a no-no, and eventually, if we don't tackle this right at the root of it, it's going to catch up with everyone.
I think so many things are happening in the country at this point. So this is that time where I think everybody can come together and say, no, enough is enough. We need to tackle this thing once and for all. What happened on Monday should be that final thing that will tell everybody, okay, we can't do this anymore. Let's change tactics. Let's come together and get this country safe. I think that is the major thing everybody should be talking about at this point.
Very true. All right, now we'll take a breather now, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the front pages of our newspapers this morning, talking about the dailies on Daybreak, to have a sense of what's happening in our dailies. Please stay.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital. We are now looking at the dailies on Daybreak. We begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. Stella?
Yeah, the Daily Trust newspaper. Yes, the major story, the Kaduna Abuja rail attack. The major story says, Abuja Kaduna train bombing, 9 killed, dozens missing. Survivors recount ordeal. With a rider that says, outrage as medical doctor, MBTE director, others killed. Ex-Zamfara deputy governor, others injured, Nigeria mourns. Tinubu cancels colloquium, damage worth over 3 billion, Amechi. That's the Minister of Transport there. The Chief of Army Staff, the Inspector General of Police, both of them have ordered manhunt of terrorists. On the left, top on the left of the Daily Trust is oil windfall. Algeria pays jobless citizens as Nigeria spends on subsidy. And we have another story there that Buhari watches a Super Eagles surrender 2022 World Cup ticket to Ghana. Why I dumped PDP for NNPP, Kwankwaso.
All right, now let's take a look at some of the stories. I saw quite interesting
Algeria
stories.
pays jobless citizens as Nigeria spends on subsidy.
I think that's one of the first in Africa.
They are an oil-producing country just as we are.
Yeah,
so
experiencing boom.
Yes, exactly.
In the oil and gas industry.
And you know, in Nigeria, despite the rise in petrol, in PMS, in crude recently, the minister said that Nigeria should not necessarily expect a boom because we spend so much on subsidy. Why are we here?
I mean, of course.
We should be celebrating just like every other country. We should be like Algeria, we're paying citizens. We have a lot of jobless citizens.
I wish that could happen, really. But unfortunately, these are not the best of times for Nigeria, even though there's this, the increase in the price of global crude oil is favoring some countries. Nigeria will not be benefiting because it's like, it's the same hand that we take out our crude oil, and then, we do not get return because we have to now refine this crude oil and then pay heavily for them.
In fact,
government is not subsidizing.
For us
We're
in
talking
Nigeria,
about trillions of naira.
Yes.
Refineries are not working, so definitely we cannot.
For us in Nigeria, when other countries are celebrating the increase in crude, what we do in Nigeria is we're sad. We're like, because the more the prices go up, the more we pay to refine these products and bring them into the country. So we're not celebrating. But why are we not? We have 4 refineries in this country, Ayuba. So why?
None is working. I mean,
should we be saying that now? Is that what we should be talking about now?
Unfortunately, it's been years since they stopped working. And I mean, everyone seems to be talking about Dangote refinery to come to the rescue now. But I mean, what happens to... But again, if you look at, even if all the refineries in Nigeria are working, what's the capacity of all the refineries?
Ayuba, let them work first.
Have?
Let them work
it's
first.
Less than a million,
less
than half a million.
Ayuba, if they were working, at least the amount of refined product we'll bring in would not be as much as we're bringing in at this point, which therefore means that it will just be to substitute whatever it is that we're producing from our refineries. You understand? So that would be like support. And if we're doing that, we won't be spending so much on subsidy, and we'll be able to celebrate alongside other countries like Algeria when the price of crude goes up in the international market.
Well, unfortunately, we cannot tell that story now. We can only hope.
Yet a lot of money is spent on maintenance of these refineries every year.
We can only hope that we have the leaders that will take this, decisive steps and be able to take the bull by the horn, because part of the problem is that we've not had people that that can take the tough decisions, take the tough choices of setting Nigeria straight.
But they all make these promises when they come into office. So what happens to those promises?
Unfortunately, when you get to the office, the story is different.
This particular administration promised us when they came into power that they were going to fix refineries. Now it's almost 7 years down the line, none of the refineries is working.
Yeah, but we have the PIA that have been passed into law anyways. Okay. That's me playing the devil's advocate. But I mean, it will take Nigeria time, and I hope that we do realize how Nigeria is losing out in all of this, because I mean, we cannot be having this. I mean, people talk about the oil boom in the 70s and how that changed a lot of things for Nigeria.
If you don't position yourself internally as a country, you cannot take advantage of whatever it is that is coming internationally. That is exactly what is happening with the crude oil, because we have not positioned ourselves. If we had positioned ourselves, and by positioning ourselves is making sure that our refineries work, and in fact that we had additional. I expected that by now the 4 refineries will be working, and we would have built additional refineries so that when things like this happen, you don't predict that these things are going to happen, but when they happen, you benefit from them. Yeah. So it's all about positioning yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you totally, and I hope that we'll position ourselves.
I hope so too.
In good time, because it's getting late.
When is the next time crude oil will go up like this? What if it doesn't go up again? It will mean that it's an opportunity loss. That is why every opportunity should be taken very seriously.
I agree totally. And now, other stories on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. I'm seeing the story about the Super Eagles. Yesterday, their match turned out violent at the end of the day. A lot of Nigerians were reacting negatively to what happened there. Now, the story says Buhari watches as Super Eagles surrender 2022 World Cup ticket to Ghana. A lot of Nigerians are sad, about this that happened. A lot of people feel that the management of the team is not what it should be, and that we can do better with that. And I agree that we can actually do better. But again, I'm more concerned about the behavior of some Nigerians yesterday.
No, they shouldn't have done
at the
that.
stadium yesterday.
It was an embarrassment. You know, we had our friends from Ghana in the country. We had other people watching the match. I know that they were sad, and justifiably so. We all expected to go to the World Cup. Nobody knew that our dream was going to be cut short at this point, you know. But I expected them to have comported themselves a bit better. You know, they ran into the field and started destroying items. We're not going to look for money to fix those items in a country where, at the time when we're complaining that there's no money, you know, and all of that. So I think what happened after the match is totally condemnable. It shouldn't have happened.
It's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, it's
and
unacceptable.
Nigerians shouldn't behave in that manner at all. I mean, and I mean, we always talk about, you know, our leaders. We always complain about our leaders. But what about our own role as citizens? You know, it seemed to me like as Nigeria, as a country, we have, our problems are, you know, multidimensional. We have a problem on different layers. Now, as Nigerians, you know, we are not, I'm not sure if we are following right, if we are, you know, holding government to account. Now, even if we are holding government to account on our own part, are we holding ourselves to account? You know, for some of these things.
You know, Ayuba, that's why some people say you get the kind of leader that you deserve. You understand? If you do not comport yourself properly, if you don't make yourself a good follower, and in any case, it's out of these followers, out of the many Nigerians that are followers now, that a leader emerges, right? So if out of those people on the pitch that jumped into the field to start destroying things are people that tomorrow want to hold leadership positions, you know. So there's absolutely no way you can divorce these two things. If you're a bad follower, you'll be a bad leader. It's as simple as that.
Very sad. Now, the pictorial on Daily Trust, you know, also shows the victims of the Kaduna Abuja
some of the victims.
Train attack. Yes, some of the victims. From what we hear, there are about 9 people now that have been confirmed dead, and then dozens of others are missing. And then we have survivors recounting the ordeal, all on the Daily Trust newspaper. If you pick a copy, you get the details of all of that. Now, let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this morning. And on the Leadership newspaper this morning, we have the lead story still talking about the Kaduna train attack. It says 8 bodies recovered, 26 injured, survivors narrate ordeal. You would also see the pictures there of some of the victims there that died in that attack, including a director of NAP Tech yesterday, and also the secretary of
Secretary General of TUC.
Secretary General of the TUC.
Yeah.
And then we also have other stories there at the top. You'd see the story about convention. APC has disappointed naysayers, and that's according to the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan. And then at last, Konkoso dumps PDP for NNPC. We wish him good luck with that. Other stories, FG freezes over 30 accounts of illegal loan companies. And then you have NAS transmits constitution amendment bills to state assemblies. And then governors showcase states' potential at Dubai Investment Summit. Soludo unveils 20 commissioners designate. And then the last story there, fans on rampage after Ghana dashed Nigeria's hopes of World Cup. So apparently, all the stories that we have today have been swallowed by the Abuja-Kaduna train attack.
I think that will be the case for the rest of the week because, you know, at the moment, a lot of people are still unaccounted for. So it's we'll be expecting that there'll be updates. We expect that the Secretary of Operations will do a lot to ensure that more people get accounted for, so that at least those who have been abducted, if they can secure their release, it will be a very good thing.
And already we are hearing that, you know, some of the persons that were abducted, their families have been reached out to
for ransom
already for ransom, and you know, government have said, well, the president has given directive. The chief of the defense staff has also given directive that, you know, those that have been abducted should be rescued unconditionally. So we do not know how all of that is going to play out. If we are demanding their release unconditionally, then what are we doing? What do we have in place to ensure that these people are released unharmed and that they are returned back safely to their families. Those are issues that we are yet to see, and we'll continue to follow up to see how all of that turns out. Well, that's that for the Leadership newspaper this morning. All right, now we will now also take a look at other papers. We have the Punch newspaper. Okay, not
Ayuba,
yet.
I think while we're waiting for the Punch newspaper, maybe we should just go and take our My Daily Hustle.
Yes, all right.
My name is Tony Obonna. I'm from Imo State, Ngokba local government. I'm into welding and fabrication. After my secondary school, when I live with my uncle in Kaduna, where I do my MD on welding and fabrication. So where he trained me on welding and fabrication because he has the welding workshop in Kaduna there. That's where I undergo the training from 15 years. Then after my JSS. So while I'm in secondary school, I'm inside it. I'm looking at my uncle as my role model. You understand? I'm looking towards to grow more than him. He's into industrial welding. That's why now even I can do industrial welding, I can do light welding. After my JSS, that's where I joined him in Kaduna. So while I'm doing my secondary school and also after school, I joined him. So after my secondary school, I now joined him fully. So which I passed through 2 years full there before I started receiving salary on welding work. Now it's close 20 years. For now, my experience from this skill, I can be able to marry and build my house in my village and also here in Nasarawa State, where I live. It's profitable. If you can calm down, if you can cool down and learn and get the skill and what is inside it. But there are a lot of challenges.
What are they?
Good. Like, young boys now, when they come in, we have like our spark light, the light. If you contact it on your eye, the thing will make you sleepless night, all through night. But when you take the drugs, the thing will calm down to the following day. It was like somebody contacting Apollo. You cannot be able to close your eye. If you open eye in the night, it was like the whole sand on the earth is on your eye. The first day I got the experience, I decided not to go back to that shop again. Because there's nothing I can do than to go there because I'm living with him then. So after some time, he now told me what to on and what not to do. I have to cover my eyes with a shade. And whether I'm the one welding or another person welding, I have to shade my eye. That's why I'm always on black glass. As you can see, metal work, anywhere you are, because the only advice is to us, you don't fight, because anything on the ground is a weapon. It's an hazardous area and also a hot job material. So anything you see here is can wound you, or can take you anything. So you have to be careful and watch your steps on anything you are doing, because we do with electricity and iron metals. The worst experience I have when we are doing erection, I have a challenge where another fell down from roof. We are doing steel roofing. That was in 2008, thereabout. That was the only worst experience I had. I nearly lost my life because had it been I fell down directly, I would have lost my life. So the guy cautioned us, if you are up, don't be panic. You don't panic, you finish. I can go on 100 meters above ground. So don't panic. So because of the fear, I'm panic. That's how got me that one. I have many guys. I train many boys, and also even from my village and also outside my village. Some people come and go because of the light issue. That's what scared people away. But if you can endure it the first and second time, you get used to it. Like now, me, I don't think I can wear without shade, and I will not contact the light because I know when I want to wear and when I don't want to wear. But when I want to apply burn the electrode, I need to close my eye. After my apprenticeship, I came to Kaduna. I came to Abuja. That was 2001. I spent 3 years there before I joined as a joint-man. The man now took me to Lagos. I served him there for years before coming back again to Abuja. So while I'm in Lagos, I work in a company. I work about 3 companies. I just want to stay on my own. I don't want to work under somebody again. While in Lagos, I work with somebody, and also I work with, after I joined companies. So I decided to settle down on my own. Like now, I have about 6 workers that work with me under me, especially industrial work. When I get industrial work, but they are not permanently with me. Like when I got those industrial work, I can take them to site, we go and work, I'll fabricate and erect and come back. So I think I have 4 of them are married under me. If you can work, if you have the strength and you can work, the ability to work. As I said, it's a hardest work and a hard job, and also it involves risk. You have to be careful if you are doing welding work, especially when we are doing erection or the steel roofing, the filling station canopies, rafters, like antennas. So you have to be very careful when you are going up.
All right. Well, that was my daily hustle, just to give you an idea on how Nigerians, earn their living from day to day. And that's one of the segments there. We'll take a quick breather, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at other stories on our papers.
morning, Nigeria. And if you're just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. And I am Stella Iyachi.
And I am Ayuba Iliam. Thank you for joining.
The headlines. President Buhari condemns terrorist attack on Kaduna-Abuja passenger train.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo cancelled Lagos trip, visits Kaduna State to condole with victims of the train attack.
Super Eagles of Nigeria failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
All right, now let's take a look at the news highlights. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned a terrorist attack on Kaduna-bound passenger train on Monday. The president Tuesday at the State House in Abuja after receiving briefs from the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Irabor. The delegation included the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Isiaka Amao, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, as well as Major General Samuel Adebayo, the Chief of Defense Intelligence, and the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, Yusuf Bichi. The president, in a statement issued by his spokesman, Garba Shehu, describes the bombing of the train as a matter of grave concern. President Buhari stated his earlier directive that the military should deal ruthlessly with terrorists, asking them to be more decisive and not spare anyone unlawfully wielding the AK-47 weapon. President Buhari directed the immediate conclusion of all the processes for the implementation of the integrated security, surveillance, and monitoring solution for the Abuja to Kaduna railway line, adding that it should be extended to cover the Lagos-Ibadan railway line. He also directed the Nigerian Railway Corporation Management to speedily repair the damaged lines and resume normal service without delay. Now, the president charged the law enforcement chiefs to bring back all passengers kidnapped and ensure that each of the callous terrorists are hunted down and made to face justice for the heinous acts, as no one or group should be allowed to make the country prostrate. The president, however, commended the law enforcement agencies for their prompt response and emergency personnel who were responsible for the evacuation and treatment of the injuries of the injured persons.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo visited Kaduna State yesterday to condole with victims of the attack. Osinbajo was received at Kaduna Airport by the state governor, Nasir El-Rufai. He visited victims of the attacks at 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital and St. Gerard's Catholic Hospital, both in the Kaduna State capital. The vice president's visit comes less than 24 hours after an attack by bandits at Dutse village in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits attacked a train conveying hundreds of travelers, killed many, and abducted others.
All right, now the Super Eagles of Nigeria have failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after playing out a 1-1 draw with Ghana in Abuja. The Black Stars of Ghana qualified on the away goal rule. The first leg in Ghana had ended in a goalless draw, but the Ghanaians scored a crucial away goal in Abuja. Ghana opened scoring in the 10th minute of play from Arsenal's defender Thomas Partey to silence the capacity-filled MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Gideon Mensah pulled the ball back for Partey on the edge of the box, and he beat the keeper with a fine strike into the bottom left corner. Nigeria equalized from the penalty spot 11 minutes later by William Troost Ekong.
That's the much we'll take at this point. Let's take our story on the defection in Kano. In Kano's People's Democratic Party, PDP. The PDP in Kano State is begging former Governor Rabi Kwankwaso to reconsider his intention of leaving the party. Speaking exclusively to Trust TV, State Chairman of the party, Shehu Sagagi, believes that losing Senator Kwankwaso may jeopardize the party's chances in the forthcoming 2023 elections. Trust Television correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that Kwankwaso is believed to have completed arrangements to move to the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP.
Nearly 48 hours since the PDP gubernatorial candidate in Kano, Abba Kabir Yusuf, and top members of the Konkosia movement decamp to the new Nigeria People's Party. The People's Democratic Party in Kano is now assuming that the defection of Senator Konkoso may have been concluded.
So many people are urging Engineer Rabi Musa Konkoso to defect from the party. So my hope is that he remains in the party. And that's my prayer. And I would like the national leadership to assist me in this regard. Not even in Kano, even nationally. You see, as far as politics is concerned, Engineer Rabi Musa Konkoso is an icon. You have to give him that respect and you have to give him that right. But you see, as the chairman of the party, even the smallest member of the party, I would not like him to leave, not talk of a political giant like Konkoso. So, of course, I know and I pray that he stay in PDP.
A former Kano State Governor, one-time Senator, and a Defense Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Rabiu Konkoso is believed to be the most powerful and influential figure of the People's Democratic Party in Kano, whose defection may weaken the party's popularity at both state and national level.
In the Northwest, I know people are eager for him to leave so that they have a breathing space. And to me, where I'm saying it, as the chairman, my only plug is for PDP to succeed in the coming 2023 election. And I know I will have an uphill task if I'm competing against Konkoso. So I will need a more qualified candidate, robust, that can work hard, and prayer for us to succeed.
Rabiu Konkoso's decision to join the new Nigeria People's Party is believed to have been masterminded by disagreement in the party's leadership, especially at the Northwest zonal level, where Konkoso felt uncomfortable with the zoning arrangement.
Ambassador Kazauri has been the zonal chairman for 9 years. So definitely it is the turn of Kano. So the zonal chairman has to move to Kano. So we sat down and we agree as elders that each state leader will submit his nomination. And only one form is going to be purchased. And there is going to be affirmation only. But unknown to us here in Kano, when we are expecting to say, and I was agreed that all forms would be collected from Ambassador Kazauri as the zonal chairman then, outgoing zonal chairman. But unknown to us, somebody sent going to the national headquarters by a form for the zonal chairman contest. So that means only the position allocated to Kano will be contested. All the other 6 states is affirmation. So Konkoso, of course, asks, why, if every state leader is allowed to bring his candidate without any question, why should someone do this to me?
Senator Rabiu Konkoso is yet to make any formal announcement concerning his planned defection from the PDP. But events within the last few days are indicators that the PDP in Kano is about to lose someone big. Idris Jubrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Well, I believe that will be one of the biggest political stories coming out from Kano, which is one of the Kadesian states, like they were nicknamed back in 2019. I mean, the strategic role and the place of Rabiu Konkoso in the opposition
and in the
party
PDP.
in Kano State is a major.
Ayuba, this has been ongoing for a while now, whether to be or not to be. Is he moving to another party or not? You know, about 3 weeks ago, thereabout, he launched a movement, as it were, but it's not a political party. So after that, it was at that time a lot of people thought he was going to defect, but when he did not defect, people were not sure about his next move. So this states categorically his next move, you know. However, this has been open to a lot of debate. People are wondering if the NNPP, which is a new party, is it a viable platform for someone of Konkoso's you know.
Yeah, so but again, if you look at Kwankwaso in Kano State, he has successfully, over the years in his political career, to command a certain kind of respect
and followership.
Yeah. He has this kind of occultic-like followership
He does indeed.
in Kano. So he has built followership around his person, not really about political party.
Yes,
I think that is well calculated.
He has, but then the PDP is a very big party. So he had a lot of people, analysts are saying that the PDP, and with all the people he had, was a good option for him. Because is everybody in the PDP, are they all going to follow him? That's another thing you have to talk about. Because in Nigeria today, whether you like it or not, the two biggest parties are the APC and the PDP. So some persons who are looking for political positions may say, okay, it's going to be better for me if I remain in the PDP. So some of them may not go, And aside that, what are the structures of the NNPP in Kano and even across the country? I don't think they have that kind of structure. And defecting at this time, we have less than a year to the elections. Yeah. So how much can he do between now and then to put NNPP in the right position to go into a general election?
Well, a lot of risk, really, for him.
It's risk.
It takes a lot of risk.
But he's a very experienced politician,
yes,
so let's see what he does with that.
Yes, we've seen this in the past. In fact, even the president himself, when he came up with the CPC, at that time, a lot of people were wondering, why would you leave, a party like AMPP to CPC? I mean, what's...
The non-popular parties, right?
Exactly, and all of that. So I guess that it's all calculated. We see all that
Ayuba, new parties, small parties, they don't find it easy in Nigeria. Even right now, when we're talking about the presidential candidates, when we're looking at the aspirants, you see there's focus on PDP, APC. That's not to say that those are the only parties in the country. There are other parties in the country, but in Nigeria, it has come to be that the small parties are not really recognized, and
They are not. And I believe that it's time, though, for us to actually begin to look at individuals, to begin to look at persons, and, not just all about the party.
And ideologies.
Yes.
And what they are bringing to the table.
Yes, and what they are bringing to the table.
I agree with you.
That's just on one hand. Now, let's take a look at today in history to have a sense of what happened on this day in our world. Please stay. Well, that's that for today in history. And now we'll be taking a look at, perspectives on our newspapers. Today we have in the studio the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, Ben Chairman, joining us in the studio to give us perspectives on some of the stories on our front pages this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Daybreak today.
My pleasure, as usual. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, quite a number of stories really on our front pages, but, the story about the Abuja-Kaduna train attack seemed to have swallowed all the, stories on our newspapers. First, let's get your own reaction on that incident.
Honestly, it's unfortunate and uncalled for either. And this is the period you say man's inhumanity to his fellow man, and the attack was well calculated, They made sure that the spot was not easily accessible. Of course, we also look at it, it fell in around a valley. Left, right, of course, there was a hill, or there is a hill. So in terms of even evacuation, trying to save people, it's just not okay. And again, talking of crisis communication, and who indeed should speak? Is it the Minister of Sport and Transportation? Is it the Kaduna State government? Is it the military or security? Again, that has to be harmonized so that we don't get conflicting statements or even figures. Of course, the president has again said, military, go ye. Pursue, in fact, anybody with AK-47, just do justice. And that justice means it's a controlled item. You don't have to have the AK-47 when you don't have the backing of authority. So such a person should go. Again, should we be waiting for the president to start giving us orders again? Because we already know our jobs in terms of security, the security personnel. And while that is going on, the president is calling the service chiefs, come, let's talk. Okay, the president has spoken. Now, you want to move again, the Senate is saying, come, let's talk. Okay, they want to move again, House of Reps, come, let's talk, when indeed the problem is somewhere. Now that they're saying the spoiled portion has to be repaired quickly so that normal service of train will continue, it's also expected that the Air Force, at the point who was saying that the Air Force said they had helicopters that always ply Kaduna-Abuja rail tracks to ensure this kind of things do not happen. So we expect the Air Force to up their game. And I haven't said so, there's also the humanitarian aspect of it all. People are saying, look, go donate blood. And of course, we need people who will always go to donate blood. There are people who want this blood. If you go to the 44 referral hospital, you go to St. Gerald in Kaduna. And that's why, in fact, there are some Nigerians who indeed move around donating blood. And I'm not trying to blow my trumpet. Some of us have formed a kind of a society. When there is a crisis of this nature, we are always ready to donate our blood. I am sorry that I have to even flank this. This is my membership. I've donated up to 15 times. And if you go, you see the heroes up to 60 times. People who indeed want to donate their blood for human beings to survive. But again, why should some other human beings be doing this kind of a thing? So intelligence network too should be on ground. State policing, in terms of community policing, if this were to be, to be done, I'm sure that some communities, some villages would have noticed this kind of strange movements and, of course, put some calls through. I do remember that in 1999 to 2000, there was this project they call rural telephony. Every local government, there was some equipment so installed. Up to today, after installation, no commissioning, and they are working for other telephone service providers. But why not the national one? That one is a national project, but nobody uses it. It is time for the Ministry of Communication to visit that and ensure that every village is connected, so that some of these activities are actually reported to some simple numbers. You can call them 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so that people can remember easily.
Okay, sir. On the Punch newspaper, the major headline, still on the Abuja-Kaduna rail attack, it says, Buhari National Assembly governors demand tough actions as survivors recount ordeal. Now, do you think this demand is going to change anything?
Honestly, it's one thing to demand for, but when you listen to these security agencies, they say any single bullet fired is $1 or dollars gone. Anyone fired. And you can imagine how much of that they will need. So they are running short of funds. Let us not pretend over many of these things. We don't manufacture these things, and this crisis, everybody is now saying Europe is facing all sorts of crises. If food is affected, also some of these things are bound to be affected because we get some of our supplies in some of these countries.
Aside that, sir, some people have said that there have been so many demands and nothing have come out of these demands, and that they are tired of the demands, that each time these things happen, this is the same thing we hear. Go and ensure that everybody abducted is rescued, ensure it doesn't happen again. And then it happens again, and then it happens again. So what other thing do you think can be done at this point, aside the demand?
Yes, honestly, Stella, we just have to support our own armed forces. That is just the truth. Supporting them implies if the president signs that so equipment should be bought, I mean, the Ministry of Finance, the audit office of the Federation, Auditor General Office, all the papers, there are times we have to just cut some of these procedures, we cut them short to ensure that supplies are made. Because, I mean, we cannot just be saying, I demand this, go and do this. You also look at what really they have. I mean, I've had reasons to interact with some DPOs locally. They tell you, look, when some communities call for assistance, because, look, we don't even have full tank of petrol. We don't even have, I'm talking of the police, they don't have full tank of petrol. Look at their tires, they can't do any hot chase of anybody. They are not well armed, and by the time you're counting bullets to give the police, the armed robbers don't count theirs. They have them massively. So we expect that we should be, the security authorities should be up there. They should be the aggressors. They should be the determinants of what is happening and control the situation. And we, the Nigerians, we should not begin to comment or describe our own security operatives as if they are just some soldier boys, some ragtag fellows. No, we should, by way of encouragement, that look, you can do it, you can do it. And the National Assembly, when there is appropriation, please let them have this money. At the point now, you know, they are too corrupt, they are too corrupt. I mean, that should not hinder us from fighting these people who are making life so unbearable to every Nigerian. Now, if we're talking of by air, we've seen that some airlines are now saying we are not yet going to Kaduna. Is it I mean, if we're having this airport being attacked, the railway being attacked, suddenly, just yesterday, they said Kaduna, Abuja road again being attacked. So there is a serious thing that people should be doing, as opposed to we demand this, we demand this. Support them by way of equipment. Support them with money. And that is just, look at how much people are spending to even buy form to contest as party official. I mean, we are not yet talking of the candidates for a political party, just party officials. Look at how much they are spending. Look at when a government official's son is wedding or daughter wedding. See how many rush there. Government officials, big people rush to donate money, as opposed to donating to the security agencies who indeed are awake, so that some of us will sleep very well. We need to support them. And our Defense Industry Corporation in Kaduna honestly should start working. We should start manufacturing some of these guns, AK-47, the bullets. What is it that they need to make those things that we cannot have? We should do all of this.
Okay, you know, when you listen to someone like the Minister of Transportation, who said that, you know, he has raised this alarm before, and if you look at the fact that this is not the first time that we're having this, you know, attack, this kind of similar attack. We've had a couple of others before now. And then now we are acting all surprised, as if, I mean, we never saw this coming. And then if you put that side by side with what the Minister of Transportation is saying as to he's making a request of, you know, an installation that needed to be done, some kind of digital installation, you know, that has not been done, that will cost Nigeria about 3 billion naira, and the fact that he has colleagues who are you know, not, you know, giving the needed attention. Yes, giving him the needed support to make this happen. You know, what does that say about, you know, our approach to things like this in terms of us being proactive and the rest?
Yes, to be proactive, there's also what you call collective responsibility. When a decision is taken that, you take it to Federal Executive Council, everyone supports there, the National Assembly supports there, and of course, the coordinator against the fight, the fight against terrorism, is the NSS office. So this is where also he has to be very, very proactive. Not that a minister will be singing this song to the left, somebody is singing another to the right, opposing him, and at the center, no action is being taken. It has to be a collective responsibility. And I am still saying that, look, we need this community policing. We can't do without them. We should be able to have informants here and there, and of course, we should have simple numbers that many of these people will understand. Yes,
can't
Stella.
we have informants without them actually being community police?
Yes, we can have informants.
Because the reason I say this is because, the issue of community policing has been going through a lot of debates and all of that. So if it's not something we can have immediately, can't we have informants? Can't the security, the police, the existing security operatives have informants in these communities? Why we debate on the community police? Because that's a different and long debate on its own, as you're aware.
Yes, in terms of information structure, yes, you can have it informally. Someone hears this and calls a councillor. Councillor is not the issue. He's thinking of calling chairman, should I or not call a chairman. But when you have a formal structure, Stella, I believe it will work faster. And to do all of that is not rocket science. We have the local government chairman working together with the traditional institutions within every local government, because every emirate, every local government is under a state. And of course, the local government, you also have ways of providing security, because they also have these votes, security votes for local government, security votes at the state level, security vote at the national level. So if we have all of this, why do we use these security votes to just provide humanitarian services? They've burned my houses. Okay, how much was that? You begin to pay all of that. When indeed you can do deterrence, you can do, once you have these people, you prevent these things from happening. And I am still saying, Stella, that yes, let us have a formal structure. Because if you have a formal structure, someone is accountable to another person who is accountable to another person, so that this fear that some governors will use them to do suppression of opposition, you just deploy those you feel should deal with your opposition. No, when you want to do operations, of course, local governments are joining with some elements of Kaduna, a state, for example, and of course you have the federal there. They work in tandem. And that makes it easy, so that a state governor does not just say, this is my own personal state security. It's not a football team. It is about security. And when it comes to security, it cuts across, it permeates everyone. We don't just say, no, this one is meant for this religion, this one is meant for this tribe. No, it is for everybody. After all, when the roads are good, we don't look for who did it. We don't look for who is plying the roads. It's for everybody.
Mr. Chairman, some people have said that all those things that you have mentioned, some security operatives have done them. They have inculcated them in their plans in tackling this insecurity that has been with us for a while now. So some people are saying there's a need for a total change of strategy. In fact, analysts are saying that there's a need for the security operatives to return to the table and ask themselves, if we have been doing ABC and it's not working, what should we do now? Look at Kaduna. The attacks are ongoing. They've been ongoing for a while now. Zamfara, we can look at other parts of the country. These security operatives have been working, yet it appears that the situation is getting worse.
Yes, Stella, you see, when you start an operation against dissidents, sometimes you have Zamfara doing it alone. You have Sokoto doing it alone. Kaduna State, via Bruningwari, you're doing it alone. Via Southern Kaduna, you're doing it alone. You go to Jos Plateau, you're doing it alone. When indeed, if you start it collectively at the same time, you have a kind of a command structure, it will be easy. Because if you push them away from Zamfara, they enter Niger State. You push them Niger, they enter Kaduna. You push them Kaduna, they enter Plateau. And around the circle, it becomes a kind of, not really a circus show, but they will just be going around that kind of a thing. But if the hit is once, at the same time, of course, there's just nowhere to run to. And so we expect, yes, if the plans have always not worked, of course, you change tactics. And that's the truth of the matter. There are things one cannot say live this way, but we interact with many of these security operatives. They speak of their own. Look, it's not as if they cannot face these people. But I tell you that there are instances they are hamstrung. Apart from that, financially, I mean, you look at, check some of these policemen you see on doing some jobs. Check their boots. They are really not the boots. They buy shoes, black shoes that look like just police boots, and they just wear. So in terms of their welfare, what happens? You bring a man from Port Harcourt, he's in Zamfara. You don't know what is happening to his family. He is a man with blood. He's a man with a wife. He's a lady too, policewoman, who has a husband, has a family, who has to care for some people. People have to also care for her. They have blood too. And so they also need love. They need what we also deserve. So we all have to be together to salvage a situation.
Okay. All right, now before we proceed with the perspectives on some of these stories, I would like for us to take a look at these papers before us today. Now we've taken a look at the Daily Trust before and the Leadership newspaper, but we also have the Nation newspaper here that leads also with the story about the Abuja Kaduna train attack. It says 8 dead, 41 injured, many still missing in train attack. We also have the Punch led with the story, Buhari, National Assembly governors demand tough actions, survivors recount ordeal. On the Daily Sun newspaper, the lead story says outrage, tears trail Kaduna train attack. You'd see also on the on the First News newspaper, you have the story talking about Kaduna train explosion, Tinubu Council's 70th birthday bash. And then you also have on the Blueprint newspaper, Kaduna Abuja train attack, BOA MD Hassan missing, TUC scribe, Kwara chair, 6 others killed and 26 injured. And that's according to the Blueprint newspaper. It has the writers that says, our sovereignty under threat, let's declare emergency on terrorism. And that's according to National Assembly. Don't allow criminals hold us to ransom, Buhari tells security chiefs. Hunt down terrorists. CO, that's Coas, orders troops. You have Kaduna residents urge days of mourning. Tinubu holds 70th birthday celebration. That's all the stories around the issue of the Abuja Kaduna train attack. Virtually every paper is leading with that story, and rightfully so. Is a story at the heartbeat of, virtually everyone in Nigeria. I mean, everyone who is not touched by this attack, then we should, question his, humanity.
His psychological form, exactly.
And all of that. So, but there are also other stories. Constitutional review. The National Assembly has transmitted, 44 bills to states. So, in line with the issue of what you're talking about, whether state police or community policing, that's also a proposal that has been made but hasn't, pulled through. So maybe that's an opportunity for us now to begin to look at the review of the Constitution in that regard, to be able to allow for, state policing. Because a lot of people have talked about ungoverned spaces, and which to a large extent is one of the reasons why we are seeing what we are seeing today. A large number of people with arms move in locations, they move in communities and villages, and they move around freely, so freely, no one is raising alarm, no one is saying anything. For instance, in this issue of this Abuja Kaduna train attack, they from what we heard, they came with about 5 Sharon buses, and then on some motorbikes as well. So they definitely move through certain communities where there are people there. So if we have some kind of arrangement, maybe as community policing arrangement or state policing, yes, with the issue of community policing, some would say what with the recently signed Police Act that was signed in 2020, there is that arrangement for some kind of community policing arrangement, but whether that is effective is also another issue to look at here. So have we taken advantage of these constitutional reviews that we are having to put in place things like the community policing or the state policing thing?
Yes. Before I come to that, if you check some of the newspapers, like they said, buy one, I mean, you've read every other thing, because the headlines are virtually the same and common. But having said so, when they said about 970 people were in that train, it's like an aeroplane. The seats were allocated, I mean, assigned or allocated. They are numbered. The coaches are numbered. So we should be able to look at, even at the train station, who indeed sat where. It's easy for us to begin to do some permutations. So person was in that train. After all, before you board the train, you have to show that ticket. And sometimes these tickets are shown via your phone. So you should also know that some families were able to travel. But again, it's not nice to break the news just anyhow. You have to have contacts. You call the family. Look, from our records here, so person boarded this train. Are you in touch with them? So that is one way of managing this information, not to cause more panic. Now, going back to this constitution review thing, you see that the National Assembly has virtually done what it's supposed to do in terms of provisions, because they did clause by clause provision, debate and analysis before they said, okay, this is almost a clean paper. Now let's send it to various states so that every state assembly will now debate that. Recall that many state governments have pocketed the state assemblies. Recall that many state governments have pocketed local government administrations. And recall too, before now, it's not the first time the National Assembly will do this kind of a bill thing sent to state assemblies. At the point they said, state assemblies, we hereby give you freedom. They said, no, we don't like it.
Mr. Sherman, that is one of the concerns with the state police. That is one of the things delaying the state police do. People are saying that the state governments will pocket the state police and will not allow them to work. So there's that issue that needs to be addressed as well. Yes. So that even when you have them, they're able to perform effectively.
I agree with you. But you see, let us borrow something from the APC convention that just took place. The law says either direct primary, indirect, or consensus. So when the governors were doing what was just not okay, the president said, look, since you've been coming that I should provide solution, I hereby say consensus. Bring a unity list. Bring that. Let everybody sign. And people sign. Today they are asleep, even though some people are not happy. But we've seen former IGPs saying that Nigeria is not yet ripe for state police. When will it be ripe? When they were IGs, this situation was not like that during their period. But when you say we are not ripe, why? Time has come. And I think that even when the president felt he should use executive order to even give this local government, the state governors were the ones who took the president to the court, and they went to the Supreme Court.
You know, because we can continue to live in denial and continue to look at maybe 1960 solutions to the problems of 2021. But as long as we continue to do that, all we will do is to pay lip service to the realities of our days, today. And I'm talking about the whole state policing thing. Now, if you look at a state like Lagos and how Lagos is partnering with the Nigerian police in, guaranteeing safety for Lagosians, it's something to emulate, isn't it?
Exactly.
So if we have an arrangement that, gives room for states to be able to manage, have a structure of a policing structure that they can manage, would we be still having some of these kind of conversations?
Honestly, in particular, the police in the 19 northern states, the governors in the 19 northern states, they need to have a rethink when it comes to this community policing, state police. We should, the states are the worst when it comes to terrorism attacks. And I think that time has come. We need the very first step that will say, look, we are going to approve this. State assembly, you have your independence. Local governments, you have your independence. Financial autonomy. So that you should be able to also have, even local governments, if you can have some agencies that are collecting rent, that are collecting all sorts of things, market rates. Why shouldn't that be when it comes to security? And they should bear in mind one thing. Those fine houses you are building at the state level, at the point you realize that men will disappear and just go to Europe. I was told a certain governor who was just stepping down, who has just ended his tenure, just that same day, he was already going out of the country. Why are we in a haste? So let us put security, network, the architecture, redesign, ensure that everything works. Outside that, we shouldn't just believe, yes.
Mr. Chairman, every time there's an attack, we have these talks. We have this kind of talks that you're talking right now, and we have it from the president and everyone. This particular Kaduna-Abuja train attack of Monday, is it grievous enough to cause action, not just talk this time?
Let me tell you, if some people are planning for wars, the training to go for war is harder than the war. Because if you survive that training, by the time you go to the theater of war, you realize that, oh, these are just Boy Scouts. What am I trying to say? If you do enough training right from your training school, training colleges, you realize that when you do deployments, you will smell, you will see, you will feel conflict. You see the warning signals and you nip them in the bud. You don't even need to have them to now go and show your prowess. You don't need to. But when you do enough training with enough intelligence gathering, surveillance here and there, using either the drones, of course, they have to be employed. Recent technology will have to be employed. And I mean, some people pretend to be hackers in the cyber world. Some pretend to be Yahoo boys, and with that they are able to catch many of these people. Why are we not deploying that technology? And when we have trackers, so person has been kidnapped and you can see where they are, but it shouldn't be a period for looking for money for the victim. Now the kidnappers are looking for money from the victim's family, and agencies that are supposed to be tracking this are saying, look, we need this assistance again from the victim's family. It shouldn't just be, let people just know humanity. And I think that time has come that we just all have to have a rethink. This thing that constantly we rush to the mosque, rush to the church and all that and pray. Are there no things we should just do by ourselves so that we leave God alone? Truly, we shouldn't just, you are under attack, you go and pray. You are under attack, you go and pray. Let the government also supply you with guns. You supply the government. You work in tandem, and we overcome all of these things. And like I said, once the president, look at the way the president is moving. He said, we want state police. The president has said so. But governors in the same party and opposed are also opposing the president.
Has the president ever been in support of state police?
Absolutely, yes.
I don't think so. The last interview that the president had, we heard it all loud and clear that the president was never in support of state police. He has advocated for the traditional system of handling security at the local level. He always refers governors who go to him, looking for assistance and support in terms of security, to go back to traditional rulers. He has talked about these the grazing routes, going back to the grazing routes. We given orders that the Attorney General should go back and find, where those grazing routes have been encroached upon, and then bringing them back so that we can solve these issues, of insecurity in the country. That has been the solution that the president has provided.
Yeah, but you see, talking of grazing routes is a different ballgame altogether on this table. But in terms of state security or state police. I want to tell you that even the vice president re-echoed some of these things. We will rock our brains, and I'm sure to bring out some things on the table here some other day. But I want to tell you that the president at the point is also using what they call the executive order, of which the Supreme Court said, look, you cannot be a member of the executive and you bring a law and you are the one implementing. And that was how the local government autonomy suffered at the Supreme Court. But I want to tell you that at the point they say security, look, we also have to imbibe all of this. The president's thinking has been there, and he has said it, and even the vice president, like I said, once said so. So if they said so at that level, we expect that the National Assembly too, in terms of making a law, why don't you simply make this law and give the executive? Let's see if the president will not sign this. It is your duties, your constitutional right to make the law. Why will you just say someone national say service chiefs and say, we give you this order, go and do this? It's not their job. It's the order of the president to order deployments, you know. But you can also order the president to ensure that he orders the armed forces. So, but you can do that by making people-friendly pro-people laws that will actually ensure that a situation of this nature or situations of this nature are corrected.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on Daybreak this morning and sharing your perspectives with us. We have to end the review at this point.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Stella.
Yeah.
Thank
We've been speaking with the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, Ben Sherman. He's the one giving us perspectives on some of the stories on our front pages today. Now, let's take a short breather, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please do. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Super Eagles of Nigeria have failed to qualify for the 2022 Qatar World Cup after playing a 1-1 draw with the Black Stars of Ghana at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja. Our sports presenter Adeniyi Ajishafe joins us in the studio for his reaction to the game. Adeniyi, you're welcome to the studio.
Well, thanks for having me.
Not a very good morning.
A good morning for me, at least. Nigeria no dey carry last, as they always say. Life moves.
But this time they carry last.
Life goes on. Whatever happens to man just have to.
Were you disappointed with the outcome?
Maybe that should be an understatement.
You were here yesterday morning and you assured us that the team was ready.
Because as a patriotic Nigerian, I should support mine, right? Two, the Eagles really, they made us believe that they could do it. You understand? And with all the support they got, it was so painful, shameful I don't even know how to explain it, what happened to them yesterday at the pitch, live. Over, the stadium capacity is 60,000, right? Yesterday, if we check, Nigeria should be like 80,000 there, outside plus the inside. And then you walk out that pitch and you play nonsense. With all due respect, they played nonsense.
Adini, I saw the sign of that nonsense when they met the Black Stars in Kumasi. And I said to you yesterday morning that they didn't play well.
Okay, because it was away, that's away mentality and all the noise from the Ghana fans and all that. But this is your home. Prove to Nigerians that all you have been saying, you actually meant it. But yesterday, with all the substitution, with everything went awry, nothing goes well. The only player that we could actually...
So what was missing here? Is it in the planning and preparation, or is it in the mood of the country that has affected the players as well?
Because, well, number one, the milk is already spilled, right? So whoever you want to put the blame on now doesn't even have any effect anymore. Why? Because whatever we are going to say now, or are going to be saying, it has happened. Nothing can change it. But it's just that the Eagles should learn how to... Yesterday, if you remember, I mentioned always giving Nigerian high blood pressure, right? Yes, and they did it again with an upper one, big one. The ladies, Nigerian ladies, check Super Falcons, Falconet, Flamingos. Why is it always Super Eagles that Nigeria spends so much money on? Super Eagles that Nigeria reverse so much. They are always the one making us feel, oh, no, this is not the way we want it. Like I said also yesterday, you are given the opportunity to represent this country, 250 million people. Just know that you are just opportune. You are not the best. If things were done right in this country, if we do the right thing, not all this godfatherism, not all this, this is my player, if we pick the right people, most of these players will not make that team. Let's be sincere.
So you're saying there was a problem with the selection of the team?
We know that. Number two, the coaching crew. What's wrong? Why is it always like that? Selection, substitution, something goes wrong, all this affecting the course they go avoid. With all respect to his personality, but really.
Adeni, during the match yesterday, there were some substitution I expected the Guavon to have done a lot earlier. Like the left back, what's his name, Bassi, he ought to have,
Bassi actually played well along the line, but he was tired.
He was tired, so he should have been taken off the pitch, though.
To Balogun and Ekon, they kept taking the ball pass back to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper that was fantastic in Ghana got back to his country, and then he turns to what they call, is it Super Chicken they call Super Eagles yesterday? Seriously, I don't know what happened to Uzoho. Uzoho played the ball, he couldn't even get to the middle of the pitch. The defenders were not communicating well with the goalkeeper. The midfield was porous. It was actually flat. The front was only Osimhen running around. You could only pick one or two players that were, all of them.
All right, Adeni, let's take reactions of Nigerians now.
Take the reaction.
I don't think they know we've told us for house.
Adeni, that was a show of shame, right?
Very, very painful. Even though I won't support all the vandalization, but really, this is the only thing that brings Nigeria together. Let's just not lie to ourselves. Nigeria, we don't need to lie to ourselves. Sport. When we say sport, the reason why I always use that slogan that is fitness and business is because when you look at the country as a whole, I've never seen what bring Nigerians together like sport. Let's be serious. It's not even religion. But sport bring all of us together. Look at that stadium.
Adini, we have always managed to go to the World Cup. Since Nigeria made its debut in 1994,
yes.
the only time we haven't gone to the World Cup is 2006. And now we're not going. What does that say for our football, though?
It means we go back to a drawing board and plan against 2026 or thereabout. That's the point. I'm a very factual person. I don't need to deceive myself. It has happened. I don't know what they are going to do about the Eagles. Let's begin to watch what NFF would do, because as it is right now, I'm sure the home is a bit divided because of the unhappiness that Eagles actually brought upon the whole country. It was a shameful act. They did not show that really they were ready. They didn't play well.
The Ghanaians played better.
They didn't play well. They didn't show that they were ready for it. Throughout the 90 minutes, in fact, second half was even worse. When it was 1-1, the penalty that was yes, we got it 1-1. And then Nigerians were expecting something spectacular in the second half. And they went to sleep. They switched off as if they were already leading with 2-1 or 3-1. They were playing as if they've qualified. I don't know, I was asking someone, is it that they forgot that with this 1-1, if you should end it this way, we are out? Were they thinking we can still qualify? I don't know.
Do you think there's a managerial problem?
Everybody has got their blame. Everyone. I wouldn't want to pick out Iguavon, NFF. I'm surprised I'm seeing some write-up blaming NFF, blaming this, blaming everyone. NFF, the coaching crew, the players themselves. But for me, I believe the players themselves should be the one to blame more. Do you know why? You know what is at stake concerning this qualifier, right? You are professionals. You play abroad. You know what it takes. If Ronaldo and Messi, with all they've acquired or achieved rather in the world of football, are still ready to qualify their country, let's place it. Then you actually went out there. Nigerians were supporting you. Everybody was doing. If you look at the Ghanaian fans that came, they are not even up to 0.01% of Nigerians that were in that stadium. And then all you could do was to play 1-1. The second half, you play woefully.
Well, I guess in every game there must be a winner. And
this particular one is very painful. I wish at times, I think it's high time, really, at times, it's very painful, but if it's possible to whip the Eagles, I would have loved it.
But that would not encourage them to go for
I'm just saying, it's just painful, it's shameful and shambolic.
I understand how you feel. I feel very pained as well.
Very painful, very disgraceful.
Yeah, it is a disappointing one. Hopefully we'll look at the critical issues that need to be addressed.
They will go back to their club now, begin to play well, and they want. Oh my goodness.
It's fine, we understand. Well, that was Adeni Ajishafe, our sports analyst, our in-house sports analyst, joining us on Daybreak. We'll take a short breather now, and then when we come back, the show will continue. Please stay with us. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. All right, thank you for staying. In case you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. I am Ayubelia.
It's indeed a very beautiful morning, and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Daybreak on Trust Television.
Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari condemns terrorist attack on a Kaduna-bound passenger train.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo cancelled Lagos trip, visits Kaduna State to condole with victims of the train attack.
Super Eagles of Nigeria fails to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Now we'll take a look at the highlights. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned a terrorist attack on a Kaduna-bound passenger train on Monday. The president Tuesday at the State House in Abuja after receiving briefs from the service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Rabo. The delegation included the Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, the Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Isiaka Amao, the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba, as well as Major General Samuel Adebayo, the Chief of Defense Intelligence and Director General of the Department of State Services DSS Yusuf Bichi. The president, in a statement issued by his spokesman Garba Shehu, described the bombing of the train as a matter of grave concern. President Buhari restated his earlier directive that the military should deal ruthlessly with the terrorists, asking them to be more decisive and not spare anyone unlawfully wielding the AK-47 weapon. President Buhari directed the immediate conclusion of all the processes for the implementation of the integrated security surveillance and monitoring solution for the Abuja to Kaduna railway line, adding that it should be extended to cover the Lagos-Ibadan railway line. He also directed the Nigerian Railway Corporation Management to speedily repair the damaged lines and resume normal service without delay. The president charged the law enforcement chiefs to bring back all passengers kidnapped and ensure that each of the Carlos terrorists are hunted down and made to face justice for their heinous acts, as no one or group should be allowed to make the country prostrate. President Buhari, however, commended the law enforcement agencies for their prompt response and emergency personnel who were responsible for the evacuation and treatment of injured persons.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo visits Kaduna State to condole with victims of the train attack. Osinbajo is received at Kaduna Airport by the state governor, Nasir El-Rufai. He visits victims of the attacks at 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital and St. Gerard's Catholic Hospital, both in Kaduna State capital. The vice president visit comes less than 24 hours after an attack by bandits at Dutse village in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits attacked a train conveying hundreds of travelers, killed many, and abducted others.
Now, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar after playing out a 1-1 draw with the Ghana in Abuja. The Black Stars of Ghana qualified on the away goal rule, and the first leg in Ghana had ended in a goalless draw, but the Ghanaians scored a crucial away goal in Abuja. Ghana opened scoring in the 10th minute of play from Arsenal's defender Thomas Partey to silence the capacity-filled MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Gideon Mensah pulled the ball back for Partey on the edge of the box, and he beat the keeper with a fine strike into the bottom left corner. Nigeria equalized from the penalty spot 11 minutes later by William Troost Ekong.
That's the news wrap. That's all we can take for now. We now bring you the story about the exhibition that showcases various Nigerian-made products and services with an interactive stakeholder meeting to address the benefits of locally made products on national economic development. The report was put together by Trust TV's Aisha Salihu.
Commercialization of locally made products guarantees efficient management and revenue generation. Under this backdrop, the National Orientation Agency champions this cause and asks Nigerians to go ahead and buy and use locally made products made in Nigeria and for Nigerians.
Over the years, Nigeria has depended on petroleum products for income generation, while other high-income sectors such as agriculture, solid minerals, manufacturing, arts and culture, technology, tourism, among others, have not been given the required priority attention needed to improve the country's national output and gross domestic product. The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Garba Abari, while addressing business operators, manufacturers, agribusiness community and other stakeholders at a two-day forum and exhibition of Made in Nigeria products and services, says, for every nation to be economically viable, the populace must have confidence in what it produces through effective and adequate patronage by the public.
We expect the citizens to cultivate the lofty attitude of growing what we eat and eating what we grow. We also expect a healthy competition amongst stakeholders and the quality producers so that we make the patronized made in Nigeria products a reality.
Irrespective of the challenges local producers face, participants at the forum stated governments and private organizations' continuous commitment towards boosting entrepreneurial skills for improved quality and innovations in food as medicine.
Government has taken steps to ensure a gradual departure from entrenched habits which inhibited the growth of local businesses. One of such steps was the institutionalization of Economic Order 003, which encourages ministries, departments and agencies to procure locally made goods of up to 40% in the annual procurement process, except such an item is not locally produced. Nigerians need constant reminders that it is not possible to grow our own economy when our first choice for clothing, food and other essentials are foreign items. We need to make a conscious effort to choose made in Nigeria branded items before considering others. Government can only create an enabling environment to allow business to thrive, but the responsibility is on every Nigerian to take a stand for patronizing Nigerian goods and services.
To be an entrepreneur, you must be inspired. Bring your creativity to the surface. Take action. It's not enough to have an idea and sit down at home, but get up, take action. All right? Then have the courage, because a lot of persons around you are also going to be discouraging you when you begin to share your idea. So you need to have courage to take the risk of whatever I want to do.
Instead of just focusing on the right to health and pushing the health system, I have to move back to begin to look at the story of change, that we cannot have the right to health without the right to healthy food and healthy environment.
The resolution at the stakeholders meeting at the NOA headquarters in Abuja discourages Nigerians, especially the middle class and the higher class, from patronizing imported products and services, but encourages them to go ahead and buy Nigerian products, use Nigerian products just so to enrich the economy of the country and also to show the patriotic spirit of Nigerians. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right, now let's take a look at the main issue of the day. Now, at least 24 people are receiving treatment after bandits attack a Abuja-Kaduna train on Monday with 970 passengers on board. No official death figure has been released. Fatima Laden reports that the families of the abducted victims said the bandits have contacted some of them to announce ransom. Take a look.
Bandits' attack on Abuja-Kaduna train on Monday has left in its wake anguish and anger among families of the victims. Many are worried over uncertainty about the whereabouts of their loved ones as they trip out the Regasa train station in Kaduna.
Well, yesterday night we called his number, but it was not going. Then he has two lines. Then we called the first one. The first one is not going, while the second one is going, but it's ringing. So he's a a friend to him that they entered the train together. So he was able to pick the phone. So we asked him about our brother. He said, okay, he don't know where he is, but he left his phone here. Since that time, we have never ever reached him again.
And this lady is fortunate to escape with no injury. She says she is a businesswoman returning from a business trip and hoping to find her goods. She says the trauma is unmeasurable. Today, the Kaduna-Abuja highway is busy with motorists playing the road. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has ordered the troops of the Nigerian Army and other security agencies to intensify search and rescue operations to ensure that the kidnapped victims are rescued unconditionally. For Sani Carpenter, the visit of the Army Chief has played a role to his escape. Not all are so fortunate as a brother to a kidnapped victim who do not want to be recorded on camera, since the bandits have reached out to them, but will announce ransom. Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs Samuel Arwan declined to speak to journalists. About 24 victims are currently receiving treatment at the 44 Army Reference Hospital, with 9 deaths recorded from the attack. Train services have since been suspended by the Nigerian Railway Corporation. This is the second attack on the train, with the recent being the worst, with deaths, injuries and kidnapped victims. Fatima Salaladan, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Well, there you have it, a report from the Kaduna Axis talking about the Abuja-Kaduna train attack. Now, we have in the studio a security consultant, Dr. Yahuza Ahmad Geto, who joins us this morning to talk about the security dimension to this. Thank you for joining us. Our guest actually, traveled from Kaduna this morning to join us here in the studio. Maybe you give us an idea what it looks like, on the roads, certainly, this morning.
Well, actually, I left Abuja yesterday night. I had a program somewhere in the city and left after around 9:45 p.m. And I came back. I had my morning prayers around Jere. I'm just arriving at your station here at around 7:45 or thereby. I have not seen, despite the fact that these incidents happened, yes, of course, the road has been busy yesterday night and even this morning when I'm coming back. I traveled to condole some of the families and also visit some of the friends to console them and some for other reasons. So, but it is really sad, disheartening, disappointing, disgrace, a shame, and a kind of exhibition of absence or lack of leadership or poor quality of leadership from the security heads or issues around so many things.
Okay, now while coming on your way,
yes.
Give us an idea. Is there like presence of security?
I didn't see any. I didn't see even a dog.
Maybe in
I didn't find even a dog when I was traveling. And I didn't find even a dog when I was coming back. So nobody even stopped me, or I didn't see anybody stopping and checking.
But Doctor,
From the time I traveled, of course.
Doctor, before we go in, I
Of
just
course.
want to know, was it because of the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train rail that you went by road? Have you been going by road or the...
Well, I have been going by road, and I have been using the train. But most of my travels to all parts of Nigeria have been by road.
Okay.
Yeah. So the issue of challenges around didn't really change my travels, because the issue is, you know, I am from village, and I have relatives spread all over the states of northern Nigeria. So if I say I have to use train, if I get to Kaduna, do I have a car that I will use? So I prefer to travel with my car and move around to visit all the relatives and participate in all the activities.
You know, a lot of issues have been raised around this attack, and some of them, you know, points to the issue of proactiveness when it comes to averting some of these things. When they happen, we always seem like we are caught up by surprise. We always seem like, I mean, wow, we are in shock. This happened. You know, before this happened, I believe the handwriting was on the wall for everyone to see that there's a likelihood of something like this happening. Yet it did happen. And when it happens, we are now seeing that there is a directive for an immediate implementation of some kind of security implementation of some security surveillance, you know, along the rail lines.
Let's stop deceiving ourselves. Why I said we should stop deceiving ourselves, I keep saying and I keep repeating myself, and I'll repeat myself. And I have said this to all the security heads, and I have been discussing it over the years, and I'm going to repeat it now. These criminals operating in north central and northwestern part of the country in the names of bandits, hoodlums, or whatever name you give them, they are known. Their hideouts, if at all there is known. Their locations where they entertain themselves, enjoy their life, is known.
Known to who, sir?
Known to every person on the authority.
Including security operatives?
Of course, right from the ward heads to the president, right from the rank and file to the highest level of authority in the security service. They are known. 99.9% of them are Nigerians. It is only what I keep saying, that 99.9% of the arm importers are foreigners, whereas more than 80% of the arm traders are Nigerians, as well as 99.9% of armed transporters and armed movers are also Nigerians. And yet, we always raise our finger to the Fulani headsmen that they are always the culprits. Yes, of course. They may take the highest part of it, but it's a combination of Hausas, it's a combination of Yorubas, it's a combination of Igbo, it's a combination of all the community members living in northern Nigeria.
So,
just before you come,
known, right?
Just before that, I'm coming. Why? Because if at all they carry arms, they have arms, who supply foodstuff to them, who supply essential goods to them, and how do they get access? At a time when a common man is struggling to get a fuel in Kaduna, to move around, to struggle for his heart, to get his to earn what he will survive, take care of himself and his family. How do they have access to get the fuel that they are launching their attacks and doing whatever they can? When they attack the train, those that they kidnap, they did not ask them to move by foot, but rather they pack them in either buses or Sharon or whatever you call it, and they drop. And remember, it is just 15-minute drive. 15-minute drive, not 15 hours. 15-minute drive to Kaduna. And they move away. And after the incidents, it takes the security almost 2 hours before they arrive at the scene. I commend Governor Nasir El-Rufai and the Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs for their due diligence and commitment, because I had the privilege to have some kind of inside efforts they have made in mobilizing the security, but for the security to swing to action, it takes them almost 2 hours.
Okay, now
15 minutes
you
to
mentioned,
Kaduna.
you
This is
mentioned
sad.
that these criminals are known.
Yes.
And even the governor of Kaduna State has actually said something in that direction in the past. He said they have their phone numbers, they listen to their phone conversations, they know their cams and all of that. Yet it is difficult to deal with them once and for all. He mentioned a challenge, which he said in the approach, on how the bandits the terrorists are being dealt with. He talked about how that if you rain heavy fire on them, say in Zamfara, for instance, they move on to other areas, maybe Katsina. And then
Can I tell you the reasons for all these
They now
deceits?
move to Niger. If you go to Niger, they also move to other locations. And he is suggesting that there should be some kind of simultaneous operation that will happen at the same time, so that all of this. So is there a problem with the strategy that we are using here?
Let me tell you the reason for all this deceit before I go into strategy. It is the combination of negligence and sabotage gave birth to corruption and bad leadership.
Can you expatiate more on that?
Of course, there is a lot of sabotage from the cycles of either the security operatives or either the kind of procurement process for providing and equipping our Nigerian security with that will give them the capability in order to face the challenges and face the wrath of the criminals. In our own case, our security has to use segregated shooting. Boop, 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 boop. But for the criminals, they can shoot sporadically because they have the higher capacity than that of our security operatives. I have said it times without number. The case of Benungwari, you have only 2 APC. And this APC that you have available, they have to be taken to workshop for maintenance. So any week, any time that those APCs are not on the Kaduna-Benungwari road, the criminals used to have access to information. And they do attack the military and who are escorting the convoy of commuters to Benungwari or to Kaduna. So there is a problem of synergy in terms of the way our security are operating. They kind of compete among themselves between the military. Even in the cycle of military, the Air Force and the Army are competing. Even the DSS and the police. Even within the police, the mobile police and the other ordinary police are competing. And at the same time, huge amount of money have been budgeted during the Buhari administration in the last 7 years. And even Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai have made mention that he spent trillions of money in fighting the insurgents. But yet, they are operating every now and then.
Doctor,
so the attack didn't come to me as a surprise.
Doctor.
When the attack on the airport, I'm coming, Jos, please. When the attack on the airport happens on Saturday, I made mention in a discussion, in a chat I had with about media representatives, that I would not be surprised if something worse than what happened at the airport happened afterwards immediately. And see the result. Why? Because we are not really utilizing our intelligence is really forced. We don't have, if at all, like mentioned by Governor, that we listen to their conversations. We know them. We know why they are. Like Mohammed have been talking about this and many other principles of the Buhari administration and even the state government. So if you know where they are, and we have the capability, and you have been spending these trillions of money, where is the result?
Okay, now the Minister of Transportation is raising another concern about something about the integrated security surveillance and monitoring solution. Even the president is now also giving that directive to that respect. Shouldn't that have been something that we have in place, even before the train stations begin to work? I mean, the train stations began working in the midst of Nigeria's security challenges. So is it that we didn't foresee something like this happening?
Remember, out of the two words that I said, they gave birth to bad leadership, because the issues is all about bad governance. I said negligence. That exhibits how neglect we are. We live in denials. We always say that we release the money, we budget it. Does that mean we cannot take lessons from what happens in October? When the same attack happened in October, I was in the train. I discussed it here and I discussed it at many forums. Let me ask you, the Federal Minister of Transport have set up a committee of inquiry and to conduct investigation and prosper possible solutions. Nigerian Railway Corporation also said the same committee. The federal government also said the same committee. I cannot really remember exactly if the police, the Inspector General of Police, made mention something like that. But I know the security operatives, the DSS, and the Nigerian Army, as well as even the internal security of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, in collaboration and partnership with other security operatives, have set up another committee. Where are the inputs made? Primary recommendations, secondary recommendations, and other annexes that were provided by those reports. Why have they not been implemented? When Buhari administration, before it comes, part of the promise to Nigerians is they will provide security for life and property as part of the cardinal principles, objectives and pillars of their campaign. So now when you come, before you complete the train and the train stations and also launch its take-up, does that mean that Buhari and his allies, as well as the security operatives, who are intimidating public, and also the, what do you call them, the generals, the brigadiers, the colonels, the major generals, the commissioners of police, the directors of the SSS, and the senior directors of the SSS, as well as the NIA, civil defense, immigration, custom, and all the security operatives that are struggling with nail cutters, with wheelbarrow pushers, with calf sellers, with whatever sellers, common sellers, struggling at the train stations, with the general, shaking shoulders, generals, commissioners of police, assistant inspectors of Inspector General of Police, okay, DIGs, struggling to buy tickets to move just Kaduna to Abuja, just 200 kilometers. Does that mean it was an intentional attempt and they know what they're supposed to do and they refuse to do? And how do they justify? How do they account for the money that have been released? These trillions cornered by the statement made by RFI and cornered by the statement made by the Minister of Finance and others, security operatives, as well as the government of Buhari, as expenditure for security. And they have forgotten to provide solutions. Until now, when our people have been murdered, killed, kidnapped, this is a shame, an exhibition of bad leadership.
Doctor, you mentioned the number of committees that were set up after the attack in October last year.
Yes.
Chances are there will be more committees will be set up following this recent attack, the one that happened on Monday. You are, as a security expert, what is the way forward?
Well, the way forward is, one, government should be ready to conduct a root cause analysis to why, to answer the why, there's the 7 why.
I mean, are we still at that point right now?
Yes, of course. Because we have never...
Don't we know the reasons why these things are happening?
We are predicting we don't know.
Okay, listen to this.
That is exactly...
Listen to this.
Yeah.
The Minister of Transportation...
Let me answer this 7 why. Yes.
Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, says, and I quote, this is one of the stories on the front pages of one of the newspapers.
Yes.
He says, we need helicopters, we need drones to tackle insecurity on rail lines. And that's according to him. It appears that we know the solutions to the problem, isn't it?
So does that mean...
And he has also said that he has warned before now.
Does that mean that
we
Amechi...
need to install some digital platforms
do we even...
to secure
let me tell you...
No, as a follow-up to his question, so that you take both together.
Yes.
Why is it that when attacks like this happen, that people come out and say, this is what we need? Because, I mean, these bandits have been operating for a while, and there were chances that they could do more. In fact, in October last year, there was an attempt on a rail track. Why is it now that this has happened that we're saying we want this and that? I would like you to combine the two.
I mean, we know the answers.
Yeah, all these governors, all these members in the state, in the National Assembly, who are kind of mocking Nigerians. I saw them yesterday, members of the National Assembly as well as the distinguished senators. They are mocking Nigerians and cracking jokes. Why I say they are cracking jokes? Where were you in the last 7 years that you have been sitting in the National Assembly, and yet you don't know that masses are left at the mercy of the bandits? You have not done anything. I mean, you have not said anything
but to be fair,
until now.
To be fair, some of these lawmakers are also victims of some of these attacks.
Despite that,
so? I mean, we have the
if at all they are
majority
victims,
leader of
yeah,
of the
if at all
his own son was
if at all they were victims, why do they sleep?
Okay, are you?
Why do they sleep for 7 years? Okay. Why do they sleep for October to the recent attack? Why do they sleep for the fact that the son of the leader was one time a victim? It could have been utilized as a machinery that will help in developing a strategic action plan that is implementable to deal with the situation and prevent the occurrence of October, as well as prevent the occurrence of what happened just Monday night.
They have been speaking.
Okay,
beyond,
doctor.
Beyond
speaking is different.
Lawmakers,
okay, doctor, before you continue.
Speaking is different.
Doctor.
Action is different.
Okay, doctor.
I said negligence and sabotage gave birth to corruption, corrupt government, and bad leadership.
Okay, doctor,
and
before you continue.
This is the yield we are using in order to cultivate the 2023 emergence of another concept or quantum of a leadership. Because it is too late for anybody who felt who is going to make
doctor,
any impact.
before you continue, let's take a report on the Senate yesterday where they called on the security operatives to do more and to ensure security.
Abuja Kaduna route is a strategic one in the northern part of Nigeria. It is a major route leading the northern parts to other parts of the country. As the bandits have chosen to threaten its relevance, so also the need for stakeholders to wage greater war against them. Senate has therefore come up with new resolutions as lawmakers resume sitting this week. The new resolution followed a motion sponsored by Senator Uba Sani, who drew the attention of the upper legislative house to the bandits' attack on Kaduna-bound train on Monday night. Senator Sani recalled the attack on Kaduna-bound train carrying over 970 passengers around Kateri-Rigaza axis in Kaduna, just few kilometers to the Rigaza train station at about 7:45 p.m. on Monday.
Notes that these latest attacks are aimed at instilling fear in the people and destroying the economies of our local communities. It is disheartening that these enemies of the people are getting emboldened by the day. They are becoming more brazen. These blood-curdling bonfires have no regard for human life. They have no place in civilized society. Notes also that unrelenting attacks call to question the strategies and tactics being adopted by security forces.
A cross-section of lawmakers noted that Kaduna had become the new theater of insecurity, concluded then that terrorists have declared war against Nigerians and it is time for Nigeria to declare war against the terrorists.
It is safe and right, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to conclude that terrorists have declared war against Nigeria, and I think it is time for Nigeria to declare war against these terrorists. Mr. President, we shouldn't allow this situation to continue, where we lay back, they come to attack, then we repel, we try to do damage control and the like. I think it is time for these terrorists to be seriously taken as a national security threat, and we should declare a war against them forthwith.
In Kaduna in person, Kaduna town and Kaduna state as a whole, no day they don't kill over 300 in a day. Every blessed day, no day that they don't kill souls, more than 300.
Mr. President, since we're inaugurated here, discussions on the security of our country has taken a large chunk of our discussion here. And I believe and feel that it is time enough for the appropriate authorities to have taken decisive actions to address the security in our country. Mr. President, Kaduna has become the new theater. And Kaduna is where the highest military institutions are housed.
The Senate accordingly urged the Nigerian Army and the Air Force to carry out sustained bombardment of terrorist enclaves in the area, with a view to flushing them out and restoring peace and stability to the affected communities. Frequent attacks on the Abuja-Kaduna rail line has become an issue too many to bear. Observers are deeply worried over why the matter is not put under control.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. We have in the studio a security consultant, and he is Dr. Yahuza Geto, giving us perspectives on some of these stories. Now, let's talk about, the reactions of the, Senate on all of this, and, what needs to have been in place to avoid such things. Again, we go back to the issues of whether or not we are playing lip service to some of these things, because definitely there have been signs, there have been indications, there have been, warnings that something like this could happen, but yet it doesn't look like we are learning from it, isn't it?
It's not that something like this could happen. Something like this have been happening on a daily basis. Because those people that were being attacked in Kaduna, in Sokoto, in Zamfara, in Kebbi, in Niger, and all other places, they are the same human like the human beings that were attacked on Monday. For the fact that a government is so kind of adamant, and they refuse to take the responsibility, because what I have been saying is these activities of these criminals, as a criminal and criminality, a forest criminal and criminality therapist, I have examined the forest in all parts of Nigeria, not only Nigeria, even not only northern Nigeria, in all parts of Nigeria and all parts of African states, as well as the Asian countries. And I have realized that the presence, the kind of attitudinal quantum the criminals are using is known to the people at the macro level. And these attacks, the activity started from the remotest part of our villages.
And that brings me to the issue.
To the community,
to
the town.
To the issue of intelligence gathering. That brings me to the issue of what kind of synergy do we have between some of these local communities and our security agencies? Because certainly the attackers came from communities. They came from villages.
What we have in that regard is just like the relationship between the cat and the dog. Do you think the cat and the dog will eat in the same plate? So if the cat and the dog cannot eat in the same plate and you have only one plate, then you will never get results, because you will never get who's supposed to take what.
I mean, why should the communities have a cat and dog relationship?
Yes, simply because...
Why should we have a cat and dog relationship? I mean, we are all stakeholders in this. We are all having a part to play in this as Nigeria.
That is how most of the security personnel exhibit themselves. Let me tell you one thing. In the last 35 years to date, the recruitment being made into the security services is in mess. Why? Because those who are recruited are those who are not interested in the job. Those who applied,
all of them,
the highest percentage. That is why they are not patriotic. That is why they don't have vision. That is why they are not interested in the jobs they are doing. Remember, whenever there is a publication for the need to do the recruitment, the white head will bring his list, the local government chairman will bring a list, commissioner will bring a list, director, Mr. This, presidency, government house. So all this list are names and details of the people who the authority wants them to join the job, not that they are interested in the job.
So is this all part of the reasons why
yes,
we do not
it
have
is.
So you're
enough
saying there's a
intelligence?
problem with
It
the
is indeed.
recruitment from the
It is
source.
indeed. Because these are people that cannot dedicate themselves. And at the same time, they don't have, we are politicizing the security. There is a high level of competition and lack of synergy between the operating system of the security agencies.
Right.
So our intelligence is really forced.
But there are security officials who are actually committed to doing it.
Absolutely.
There are people who are
That's why I didn't say 100%.
So let's talk about those ones.
That's why I said
Let's talk
percent.
about the enablers for those ones. Now, if
Yes.
you talk about, say, for instance, logistics.
So when you talk
you
on
mentioned
enablers,
earlier the response of
Yeah.
our security officials, that it took about 2 hours for them to be deployed to the scene of the attack and all of that. Now, logistically, do they have what it takes? Now, assuming I'm a security official and I'm ready to serve my country and to do the needful, do I have in place the things that I need to make me respond to some of these kind of emergencies?
If they have what it takes, as far as you ever use the train from Abuja to Kaduna or Kaduna to Abuja, you know there is usually mobile police officers, and the military, as well as the presence of the DSS inside the train. In fact, some of those who have been killed or wounded are some of the security personnel who made an attempt to use what is in their hands, the AK-47, to do the segregated shooting. Because when somebody is having 40 to 100 magazines, and you are having only 2 magazines, how do you face him? You have to do segregated. For him, he will do sporadic. You have to do and then move away and try to find a kind of a corner to hide yourself. So if at all we have those gadgets and equipment, the criminals couldn't have even have a privilege to go and even plant the explosive. Because between one station, if you move from Abuja to Kaduna, you have a number of train stations where either the train slow down or stop for a reason, or stop to drop, or stop to pick.
Doctor.
So if you have this, if at all we have those equipment and gadgets, the surveillance equipment could have traced the presence when these guys were planting whatever. If at all we have a good tracking devices and monitors at all the stations that could have been utilized in feeding one station and another, that so people have been seen at so place around the rail line, what are they doing? And our advanced surveillance team could have been sent easily to go and deal with them decisively. And at the same time, remember, I said, and I keep saying, these criminals, they are known, their locations is known, their hideouts, if at all there is no hard to reach or difficult terrain that I don't know in northern Nigeria.
We have
so
had situations
the security personnel are handcuffed, and we don't have up to 80% of the required security personnel that we need to launch or to kind of provide security for life and property in Nigeria.
Now,
and Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai have made mention recently.
Now we've had
advocated for the need
we've had
for employment.
situations where the railway staff and the train operators will have to, kind of compete with cattle, on the road, cattle who are, crossing the rail lines. We've had reports of when these cattle sometimes are being crushed by our trains, endangering the lives of people on the train and all of that. Now, I mean, why should that kind of a thing happen? I mean, don't we have, enough, fencing that will guarantee that intruders will not be able to, pass through these rail lines?
Government have made provision for a budgetary allocation, and I know defensive activity have started or have been made. But it's a question of quality. It's a question of who does what, and at the mercy of who. Those fences, if I use my leg, pim, I'll push it down. So there is no quality. If a cow came and move around and hit the wall will collapse. Go and check the quality. I wonder, when I see National Assembly or whosoever are saying that a committee should be set to check what happens to the funds being provided and released for the purpose of fencing. Is it now? Have you been sleeping in the last 7 years? So we don't have, it is negligence that gave birth to corruption. And corruption gave birth to bad leadership. And bad leadership is taking us, or rather is giving us the result of bad governance.
Doctor.
And that is why we will never succeed as far as we are not ready to fight corruption sincerely and honestly.
Doctor, a lot of reports said that apart from the explosives that were put on the track, when the attackers started to shoot, their focus was on the business coach. Can you speak to that? Was there a particular reason the focus
absolutely.
on that?
Absolutely. I have been saying that definitely there must be a kind of collaboration and partnership between some of the, that's why I talk about sabotage. There must be personnel within the system that are sabotaging the efforts of the government. Simply because, let me tell you, when I saw the manifest this morning or yesterday night, the manifest being released by Nigeria Railway Corporation, I laughed. Nigeria Railway Corporation and Federal Ministry of Transport and Federal Government of Nigeria is trying to justify that we, the elites, or we, the leaders, we are considering the large population as stupid and idiots.
How is that?
Simply because, if you know, those who are using the train knew it is very clear that more than 60 to 70% of the tickets is being bought from touts, errands, and personnel of the Nigeria Railway Corporation. Not really at the counter. 3 days before you...
The whole process is online, so how...
That is not true.
The process is
they
online.
They normally...
I have booked for the train online
I want to tell you that 99 and more than 60 to 70% of the tickets are not being bought through the online.
Was that in the
because
past
these
or
guys,
currently?
up to the day when the attack happens. So you are a lady called Amina or Ungozi, but your ticket will be reading Muhammad or John. He is John or Ahmed, but his ticket will be reading Jimmai.
Dr. Huza, I know that
for this, there is a lot of corruption.
I know that we have had times where the website of the Railway Corporation is down.
For
those moments, we have had situations where there will be chaos, where there will be racketeering, where there will be people struggling to purchase tickets and all that.
But
for most of the time, the process is online.
I have seen a lot of people buy their tickets online as well.
I have justifications, and it's because I have evidence. I generated evidences, and I have so many evidences that I can present when the necessary, when the need arises.
It happens once or twice doesn't mean
not
that's
once or twice. It's daily. Go to the train station and see. Go on Friday. Go on Saturday. Go on Wednesday, and go to Kaduna on Sunday. Go to Kaduna on Monday. Go to Kaduna on Wednesday and see how people are struggling. You will see generals, commissioners of police, directors of the SISS, staff of the NIA, staff of the civil defense, Staff of other security operatives, when they came to train station, you will see the touts moving around them, exchanging.
So you are alleging that there
I'm
is
not
some
alleging, I have
collaboration.
facts.
I'm coming.
I'm not alleging, I have evidence.
So what you are saying is that there
the
are
ticket of 2,600 is being sold at the rate of 3,500.
So you are saying that the bandits have informants maybe from within some of these people?
It is very clear. If not because they have informants from within those people and from within the train, probably some of them might have even boarded the train to monitor, so that they can provide updates through either SMS, WhatsApp chats, or any other medium that you will not understand, or any other language that I and you may not understand. And they have been providing information and updates to those culprits. This is where we are. Coach number 15, coach number 20 is a business class. Coach number this is economy. Coach number this, you have crowd of common man. Nail cutters, wheelbarrow pushers, and the other coach, you have directors, you have commissioners, you have former deputy governor, and so on and so forth. You have managing director of the Bank of Agriculture, or you have this and that. So that is why they targeted those coaches first. There must be an internal person. And that is the reason why I said banditry and all this criminality happening in North Central and Northwestern part of the country is not only being perpetrated by the Fulanis alone. There are others, those among Yorubas, among Igbos, among Hausas, among Nupes, among the people living within the region. And we know them, and the security agencies know them. But why? Because government have not in any way kind of punish someone in public to serve as a deterrence for others to take a lesson. There are a number of referrals we made for security agencies to make an arrest. They arrested armed traders, they arrested armed transporters, they arrested some of the bandits. The Zamfara State Elders Forum have made an official presentation of complaint that they have directed the arrest of Mr. ABCD, and after 2-3 months they will see him coming back. It is either the armed transporters, it is either the armed movers, because armed movers and armed transporters, to me, are more dangerous than those culprits who are using the arms. Armed importers and armed transporters are very, very dangerous. To me, they are more dangerous than the bandits, because it is unless and until you bring the arm, that is when the bandits will have access to it to utilize.
But the thing is that those armed transporters and and all of that seem to have a field day, moving around the country, isn't it? Especially if you look at the picture that you painted earlier, that even with this kind of situation, happening, nobody will stop you on the road, maybe even at, in late hours, to say, hey, who are you? Let's know who you are.
Let me tell you one thing.
All of that. And then if you look at the porosity of our border as well, so armed proliferation may not end, from what we are seeing.
In January, February, and March, and early days of March, I traveled through some part of West African states. I drove myself. I drove to Niger, Burkina Faso, Benin, and Mali. And I move around. I was invited to present papers on security and intelligence by some institutions and some groups. And I used my own car and I drove myself. Wherever I go outside Nigeria, I will see the checkpoint, the security, either police, immigration, or whosoever, I will park and go to them. And that's how other committers do. But in Nigeria, it's a different case. Before I left Nigeria, I started my journey from Auchi, because I made a paper presentation in Auchi, and I visited a friend in Lokoja. I spent 2 days in Lokoja with a friend who is a former retired permanent secretary. So since he retired in the last 5 years, I have not been able to visit him. So I stopped over, and I also started, after spending those days, I moved. And when I started moving, I didn't come into Abuja, I moved straight. I had a paper presentation in Zaria before I proceed. So even those committers, those so-called checkpoints that you have, in the daybreak light. I want to tell you, the only thing you see, even the stop and search you have, they are only there to extort money, even in the daybreak. They are not asking, they are not checking who are you, what are you carrying. Even the drivers that are having loads, the only thing they do is, even before they arrive, before the arrival at the point of the checkpoint, they already have their 200 naira, 50 naira, 20 naira notes. And some even use a new note as an act. So you will see the security, either the police or whosoever, dancing. At the immigration post, 99.9% of it, go and see what is happening. When immigrants come in, do you know that even among some of our personnel in Nigeria, we have Nigerians who are serving, who rose to the rank of inspectors, who rose to the rank of assistant superintendent in the police and other services? I have evidences. So they are not, even if they are present, they are not doing their work. Simply because if you want to see a fully kitted, organized Nigerian security personnel, go to government house. Go to the orderly of the local government chairman, orderly of the commissioner. You will see their face is shining. But those security who are supposed to man our roads, who are supposed to man our borders, they don't even, when you look at their uniform, it's padded up. When you look at them physically, they are shredding and they are shivering.
We have to end this discussion. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We do appreciate your thoughts and your perspectives. Because of our time, we have to end this. Very, very interesting thoughts, really. For our viewers, in case you've missed, part of the discussions, you can always go to our YouTube channel and also our, social media platforms to have, all the details there. With that, we have come to the end of the program for today.
Thank you, Doctor, for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
I hope you come any other time we invite you.
Any other time, once I'm available, because I travel a lot.
All right.
All right. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
Thanks for spending this part of your morning with us. My name is Stella Yaji. Keep a day with us, same time, same station tomorrow. Bye. Bye.